Greetings, my fellow Necromorphs. I am your host, Immortal Brando, aka Ethan. That no, my wife got shot. But I'm sorry,
Rightfully
inside
so.
joke. For real. But that's an inside joke. But anyway, I'm joined here by these lovely freaks here. Let's start off from the top.
Damn right I'm a freak.
Bio Devil Necromorph Dom. Introduce yourself.
Damn right I'm a freak. Hi, how's it going?
I
I'm
almost
here to
thought-
talk about Dead Space.
I almost thought you said Biodevil Necrophiliac. I'm like, what the fuck?
No, hell no, I ain't into that, but
Ooh.
if you want, you guys could call me Bio Necromorph Dom today or some shit.
Necromorph Devil.
Yeah, Necromorph Dom. Yeah, like, okay. But yeah, no, my name's Bio Devil Dom. I'm here to talk about Dead Space, because I don't think I talked about it last time with you guys, so...
I forgot who was on the cast of Dead Space Part 1. I had to go back and check. But yeah, you can continue.
But
Hey, you're back again.
yeah, Undead Man Gaming. Introduce yourself.
Yeah, I guess I'm Undead Man Gaming today. Normally, I'm just Dead Man Gaming, so I think that could still work either way. But I run a small YouTube channel where I like things, and Dead Space is just one of those things that I absolutely love, and I can't wait to talk about it.
All right. Ginger, introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Ginge. I'm here to talk about Dead Space. I have a YouTube channel where I play a lot of bit of anything, but mainly Resident Evil and Dead Space at the moment. So looking forward to this podcast.
All right. And unfortunately, but last, is Operative. Introduce yourself.
I fucking hate you, by the way. So, my name is Renegade Operative, and I've been playing a lot of Dead Space 3, Dead Space 2, and Dead Space 1, so I can't wait to get into this podcast.
The man's own channel, and you relegate him last. That's cold.
He does that on purpose. It's a running joke.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm an innocent bystander here.
Running gag bullshit.
All right. I will start things off, though. Start with number one, of course. What is your first experience with the Dead Space series? Who wanna go first?
Take the lead on this one.
Go right ahead.
My first experience with Dead Space. Now, I don't remember which one of my friends in high school introduced me to it, but that was around the time that I started getting into horror stuff. Actually, I think it was the same friend that introduced me to Resident Evil 4. He's gave me this, and he's like, "You liked Resident Evil 4? This is kind of like that, but it's in space." I was like, "Okay, that's fucking cool. So we'll do that." And I played Dead Space. Probably need to change my pants about 5 times while playing it, but I had a blast with it.
All right.
I could go next.
Go right ahead, Doom.
So I had only recently played Dead Space, like I think a couple of years ago. I think it was on sale, like the Ultimate Edition was on sale for the PS3 version, and then also this was the case for the PC version of Dead Space 2. I think Dead Space 1 was also on sale for PC at the time, but I was recommended to play the PS3 version mostly because it had all the like extra shit you cannot get on PC. Dead Space 2 is kind of a little bit different because you can get all the like main cosmetics, but there are a few like missing things here and there that was console exclusive, like some cosmetics and the Severed DLC, which kind of continues on a story point from one of the spin-off games. But yeah, I've started playing those games. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was actually really interesting how they could pull off a horror game, especially with like an over-the-shoulder style, and make it work. Because most of the time, like when you go in an over-the-shoulder perspective, like it's very easy to like kind of like think, oh yeah, it's going to be RE4, it's just going to be like heavy non-stop action. And I mean, that kind of is the case, but most of the time you just don't know what the fuck is like right around the corner or what's going to pop up right behind you in Dead Space, and I really love that. I have not finished 3, but I am playing through it. I think I'm about like halfway at this point, so my knowledge on Dead Space 3 is kind of limited, so unfortunately I can't speak on that game too much.
Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and go next. for me, it actually comes from the very first game back in 2010, I believe. My friend owned a copy on Xbox. Well, technically it was his stepdad's, but no, we were playing it and whatnot, right? But I had to leave. My friend got through halfway through the game in one sitting, so his dad took away his copy, saying like, "No, you beat games too quickly. You need to slow down." Which is kind of true though, but then again, Dead Space is kind of short though. But fast forward, literally 6 years later, I bought Dead Space 3 Ultimate Edition on PS3. It was on sale. Fortunately, I didn't finish that version though until recently on PC. So yeah, I started with 3. I played 1, and I played 2. Oh, I know it came out in 2008 though, but that's when I played it in 2010, Ren.
Okay, I was just making sure. I got to fact check Brandon real quick.
Yeah, that's when I played it.
All right.
But essentially, the games I've beaten was the original trilogy. I have not beaten the side stuff.
All right, so I guess I can go next.
Alright.
Infamously, I got into Dead Space because of the stupid commercial about Dead Space alerting your moms and everything, and it's bad for your children and all that shit. And I saw they had these people where they got their mothers and they played Dead Space 2, I believe. And they were saying how it's a deplorable game, how it shouldn't exist, and Isaac was getting torn apart in the footage, and I was loving
Yeah, I
every single
remember
bit
that
of it.
commercial.
Dude, it was so
I was
funny.
about to say that's showing your age right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was so funny. So I'm like, as always, controversy makes me curious. So I picked up Dead Space 2 and I ended up loving it. So I retroactively went back and played Dead Space 1. I love that even more because it felt more survival horror-ish compared to like the second one where it's like more of an action game. And I recently started playing Dead Space 3, and honestly, it's not that bad as I remember it to be. I think I was very harsh on the first podcast about it. Now I played it a little bit more, and I'm like, for an action game, it's pretty stellar. Like, the mechanics work and everything. It just feels great on PC.
3 is an amazing game, especially from a technical standpoint. Especially how they handle co-op. Like I can't think of any other game that handled co-op the way Dead Space 3 did, because you literally have a different game when you play it on co-op. The script is different, the character interaction is different. It's like a character carver. He's with you, so you get different dialogue and different events. Now, in co-op, you don't get that in story. That you don't get in single player.
Yep. So
So that's why I appreciate it.
I don't like the decisions that EA made behind the series, but we're gonna talk about that later on in the podcast. But overall, pretty solid.
I started on Dead Space 2. I think within like the first week it came out, so back in 2011. I actually rented it because I didn't have any money back then, so I couldn't buy a brand new copy of it. I rented it and played through the story and was terrified the whole time because I was still pretty new to survival horror games back then. Played a bit of the multiplayer, which I think we'll talk about later on in the podcast anyway. But then, after Dead Space 2, I eventually went back and played the first one and absolutely loved it. And then brought Dead Space 3 on launch, played it again, and I think Render said it as well. When I look back at it now, I like it a lot more than when I originally played it. It brings back more memories, I guess, with the co-op, and like I said, with the different co-op, it's very different to more co-op games, to most co-op games.
Actually, you know what? Just slightly sidetrack. I know it's a common trend lately with certain games that came out like 10 years ago that were like decisive. I mean, like Resident Evil 6, for example. People didn't like that game like almost at all when that came out, but now people warmed up to it over the years.
Yeah. I'm that's another game I'm also the exact same with.
A lot of those games I think are kind of more of a slow burn kind of games. Like you might not like them when you come out or when they come out, but kind of looking at them in hindsight, you're like, okay, you know what? They're not that bad. I mean, they could still use some work, but they're not as bad as they could be.
Yeah. Or you just kind of take it as a standalone experience and, say it's like, oh, okay, well, it's kind of good for for what it did. Maybe not exactly what I wanted out of this franchise, but as a standalone experience, it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
And I think like for what I played out of like Dead Space 3 in particular, like it was not necessarily a bad co-op game. I just think that it was definitely like strange in some areas, but we'll kind of talk about that later, I guess.
Right. But who was the real number 2?
I can do number 2.
All right.
What is the scariest, most memorable scene in the series? Man, that's actually a really good question. I think like a lot of the scares that I got from Dead Space probably came from 1. Although I think it would be like a cop-out answer to say like, oh, the fucking eye needle surgery thing at the end of 2. Like that would be kind of a cop-out answer. I think at least. Because like I think everybody would pick that one, but let me think.
Why you think? Oh, sorry.
in Dead Space 1, there's a part where you see that like deranged doctor, and he's like ready to like sacrifice the dude, and he's got like the fucking like spike, and he's just like jamming that shit in that dude's head. It's like definitely came out of left field, I would say. So that kind of creeped me out. But
Trying to think.
what about you guys?
For me, I thought the whole nursery segment in Dead Space 2 was creepy. Cause you had that woman, you could tell
blown to
her,
bits.
yeah, her face was mangled and she was still trying to cradle this alien baby, and I'm like, please don't do it because it explodes, don't, and then it does what it's supposed to do. It
Yeah,
explodes
I
the fuck
didn't
out of
expect
her.
that to happen, honestly.
Yeah. That was, it's kind of a little bit funny, but it's just super creepy when you get to the nursery. And the first one, I'm trying to remember like what scared me the most. Probably when you first see the regenerator, because at first I thought you could kill him immediately and you can't. He grows his limbs back and you have to
The
put him.
fucking Uber-morph.
Yeah, the uber morph, and you
Yeah.
have to like get him in stasis and freeze him. That's the only way to stop him. And I didn't know that at first, so he kicked my fucking ass.
People that can't work that out quickly enough.
Dude,
It
that
gets
thing
bad.
fucked me up in Dead Space 2. I was playing that on hard mode, and that shit does not let up because you have to run from like point A to point B, and he will not fuck off.
It's the worst thing ever, really. Anyone else with scariest moments or memorable scenes?
I mean, there's so many, like, in my opinion, there's so many memorable moments for the whole series. Like Dom said, the eye surgery, the eye machine thing is a bit of a cop out, but it is one of the most memorable scenes.
Yeah, I mean, it is a cop-out, but if you ask people, that's probably the first thing they're going to say, because you don't see things like that mostly. I mean, you've got some games now, like The Evil Within, that will be more than happy to show you that kind of uncomfortable gore, but, you know, for the time, that was practically unheard of in games.
Yeah. And then, like Ren said, the nursery is a very memorable moment, especially for me. That was quite a scary moment, or creepy. But probably most scariest is probably like for me anyway, the first time you encounter Necromorphs in the first one. Like when you're running down the corridor, you finally get to the elevator, and the elevator goes to shut, and then the Necromorph rips it open. But then the elevator door slams shut and crushes that Necromorph. That's like, because there's that moment where you think, I'm not safe.
Shit, I have no gun and I'm about to get ganked.
Yeah, that's probably one of the more memorable moments for me. Yeah.
That also kind of happens in the second one, where it's like they're everywhere and you have no room to breathe and you just have to run to the exit as fast as possible. So I like those intros where it's like you have no gun, you don't know what you're doing, and immediately Necromorphs are everywhere. That's what I really like about Dead Space.
I think for mine, it would have to be a couple of different things. I'm going to say the first one will be a blanket statement. Any of the moments where people are acting off like they shouldn't. So, like, for example, the nursery scene, like you had said, she's not supposed to be trying to coddle those things, but, the marker makes everybody insane, so that's exactly what she's going to do. Or, the doctor's trying to sacrifice people in the first one. One of them that sticks out to me, and I still swear is the most subtly creepy thing, probably through the whole series, is the part where you round a corner and that guy is just slamming his head on the wall over and over and over and over.
Oh
That,
yeah, I remember that.
Kind of just as a blanket statement, any of those parts where people are acting insane and you're like, no, don't do that. You're acting like, you're watching a horror movie, don't do that. And then they're just acting crazy. Those kinds of moments stick out to you. And then the beginning in both of them, yes, the eyeball sequence.
Oh. Did I lose you guys? What the hell?
What happened?
Did,
Deadman, you there?
that was weird. That was Discord.
Well, Deadman's actually dead. So
Yeah, sorry for the inconvenience. That was Discord. Deadman kind of died in the middle of a sentence.
well,
I don't know
he's
if
not.
he hears us though.
Someone tell
Deadman,
him in chat.
if you've been held hostage, type 2.
Type 2.
Oh, he disconnected.
Okay.
That.
Well, I guess I'll name off a honorable mention real quick. I just thought like people that were crazy like Strauss. I thought that was awesome. Also, the guy in the beginning of 2 where he like sort of, it implies that he stabs Isaac, but he really cuts him out of the straitjacket, and then he kills himself. I was like, holy shit, dude, that's crazy.
You know what? There was I think it was like a nurse or a doctor in the first game that kills herself the same way too. She's like behind a glass like tube or whatever, and she's like just cutting up this like dead guy, and or I think she was like torturing him before she like killed him, and then like she sees Isaac and immediately just slits her throat in front of the glass or whatever.
Yeah, the crazy people or the effects of the red marker deranging the mind is fucking insanity. And I don't know if it's a question in the document, but the movies kind of touched on that as well, which I really liked. Just showing that this is really mentally affecting people and they are slowly but surely turning to the alien species, which is the Necromorph. So I also like when that guy transformed in the beginning as well in front of you, because it's so vivid and visceral at the same time. But I don't know if Deadman is back or not. Oh, he's typing.
Dead dog, you there? Tech issues.
Dead dog.
Well, I guess we can just move on until he's situated though. But operative, can you read off number 3?
Yeah, sure. Hold on. Which setting did you like the best? Ishimura, the Sprawl, or Tau Volantis? I am gonna go real quick because my answer is simple. Just Ishimura. It's iconic. It's the first ship that you are on in Dead Space. I don't think it ever gets old for me, even when you go back and revisit it in Dead Space 2. Because that iconic scene comes back later in the game, I believe, and you can investigate that. So I just think Ishimura has the best atmosphere.
PTSD moments.
Yeah.
I gotta agree with Ren on this one. Ishimura was part of my favorite. There's some actually locales in Dead Space 3 that I really like. Like Tau, Vol, whatever. Sorry, name slips me. Like the planet itself is really cool, but I enjoy some of the ship moments even more before you get to the planet. But like I say, Ishimura was probably still number 1, especially when you revisit it in 2. Like seeing how everything is after the fact is really damn cool. Especially since the ship is still around. Like how?
Okay, so like I like the Ishimura, but I like it kind of for the same reason that I like the Spencer estate in Resident Evil 1, where it's just kind of like this old like place that you have to explore through and like find out what the fuck is going on in. But also partially because it just is a huge fucking reference to Event Horizon. There's just a lot of locales within the actual Ishimura that are just like straight out of that movie. But I also do like some of the areas from Dead Space 3 from what I played so far. Like when you're out in space and you're going through like the destroyed like spacecraft carriers or whatever that were just like kind of left behind from like this old war that's already like happened and done with. That's pretty cool because you can see like a bunch of these spaceships that kind of match up with the technology that's in Isaac's time, but also some shit that's like maybe a little bit more dated and before his time. So I thought that was kind of cool.
I like all three areas. They're all amazing, but and I do agree. The Ishimura has a lot of like nostalgia. It is just so you can never like. I never get bored of it, like everyone said. But the sprawl is probably my favorite. Just because you're like, when you get to the Ishimura, everything's already happened. You know, you've missed the outbreak, and it's just like you're now stuck there trying to escape, which is still amazing and still a great game. But the sprawl, you literally there like from when it's starting, and it's just everyone running around, the chaos. And then you also do get the chapter where you're back on the Ishimura, where it's been brought in, looked at, and like analyzed and stuff, and that's also your nostalgia area as well. And so the sprawl's probably my best area.
Hmm.
All right. First off, can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Yep.
we can. He's back to undead.
Okay. Sorry about the tech issues. So to finish up my last point, I was going to say it might be because I had to play the beginning so many times of Dead Space 2 because of hardcore. But that to me is one of the most the moments that sticks out the most is having what's his name, Franco, get you free, and then he just turns right in front of you, and then you got to book it while your arms are strapped to your chest. So anyway, I'm sorry, that was finishing off number 2. I wanted to get that out. And then number 3, as far as the setting I like the best, I think it also goes back to playing Dead Space 2 the most. I think the sprawl would have to be my favorite because it's, it's varied, it's interesting, and I kind of like it the best because you're not necessarily on a cramped spaceship, so there's a little bit more breathing room, but there's only just enough because it's still a cramped space station. It's just not a cramped spaceship. So it's like you're still cramped in, but you still have plenty of room at the same time.
I mean, it's multi-level type space because you're not going like I think you at a mall at one point and you went down to like some bunkers and stuff. Like it's such a varied locale.
And I think that's why I like it too, because the Ishimura, it's got some places that are different, but after a while it does all start to kind of feel the same. Whereas in the sprawl, even if it all does look the same at one point, it's still varied enough. Like, you got the nursery that still looks like it's part of the sprawl, but it's still wildly different looking than everywhere else. And then you've also got the part where you go through the Church of Altman too.
I think with Dead Space 2, that game has the advantage of having a wider color palette, because like Dead Space 1 it's like just a bunch of like oranges and browns, and like I harp on like Devil May Cry 2 for having such a like bland color palette because it's like mostly like browns, right? Whereas like Dead Space 1 looks good for what it is because most of that is supposed to look that way. It's intentional. It's supposed to look like this old rusty like brown and like shitty looking ship, because it's an old ship. On top of any reds that you would see from like the blood. Whereas when you go to Dead Space 2, like everything is newer, from your suit to the actual location in the game, all the like buildings you're going into, all of that is just new. So I think they wanted to kind of like reflect that with the colors as well, as that everything is just more vibrant and saturated in a good way too, of course.
Right. And that's actually also reflected in the gameplay too, which, yes, you can also say that Dead Space was, well, not the first game that Visceral did, but it's the first game that they did in the Dead Space series. So it's a little clunky, whereas in Dead Space 2, everything's a little bit more refined. You can also see that in a story way, too. Like, yeah, the first time around, Isaac didn't know what he was doing. But at this point, even if he's, been in a, not really a coma, but he's basically doesn't remember the last couple of years. He still kind of has that muscle memory and he knows what he's doing, and that translates to smoother gameplay too. Which Dead Space just kind of had that. It was Dead Space, but it was more polished, and it did have that advantage over it.
My little beef with 1 really is just the control schemes, because they changed it up for 2,
Yeah.
and then it reused it again in 3. So imagine me though. Like I started technically my game to completion was 3, then 2, and then going back to 1. It felt foreign to me.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, I started off playing the first Dead Space this go around. I haven't got to 2 or 3 yet, but I still started with the first one, and even just my muscle memory from 2 is there, but my muscle memory from 1 isn't really there because 1's controls were kind of wonky. I mean, you had to, which is
Press X.
Resident Evil, so you had to aim to reload, but you also had your buttons kind of mapped out weird too, and it's another downside for consoles is you can't change your keybind, so you're kind of stuck with the crappy controls.
This sidetracking a little bit again. It reminds me of like Devil May Cry actually. The first game had an ass backwards control scheme in the final release, and then the sequels kind of just refined it because the second game had a much better control scheme, and they continued that from later down the line. So it's like it's just so weird and baffling going back to like say the first game if it had a different control scheme, and then going to the sequels and it has superior control schemes. Like the one time I wish where you had your own options to change up your stuff. Like custom controls is a must for some games, and Dead Space is definitely one of them.
Oh yeah.
Also too, like Dead Space 2 and 3 got rid of. Well, they didn't get rid of. They just kind of hid this behind the options. They have you start off with a reticle, and some people actually don't even know that you can change it in the options to have it be the traditional lasers from Dead Space 1.
I don't remember that at all. Huh.
Yeah, they hide that. They hide that in the options. So like they don't tell you this, but like if you go straight into your options, there's like a dedicated option for the reticle. It's like I think the first one is reticle, which is like the default, and then the other one is it just says classic, and classic just switches it to that like typical Dead Space 1 type of laser, which that's how I play all the Dead Space games. I can't stand the reticle personally.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I think it was center and classic.
Yeah, I mean it's part of Dead Space, and it goes back to having the minimal HUD with Dead Space. Having the lasers point your gun is just part of the aesthetic of it too.
I also like how the laser reticule sort of goes horizontal and vertical. I always thought that was really nice.
Oh, you mean with like the rotation on the
plasma cutter?
Plasma cutter, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, you can technically do that with the line gun too in Dead Space 3, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yep.
Also, most
get the rotator mod.
Isn't it like most guns in 2 they have alternate fire? I'm not sure about the first one, but
yes.
Yeah,
Dead Space 1
that's
and
what Dead
2...
Space does.
Okay.
Yeah, Dead Space 1 and 2 has it where it's an alternate firing option. They changed some of the ones in 2 because some of the ones in 1 were kind of ass. And then in Dead Space 3, they get rid of instead of having 4 weapons, they get rid of 2 of them, and you make your own custom alternate firing option for all of your guns that you use.
Okay.
Essentially, you have 2 guns, but those 2 guns could have 4 options, 2 options in them. So technically, you have 4 guns. So like, for one of my guns, I have an assault rifle and a force gun attached to it.
Nice.
I was about to say, prepare for a line gun and a force gun combination.
I tried that combination though. It is wonky.
So good.
Oh, my personal favorite gun customization though is the revolver and the standard gun. The name escapes me. I apologize. The one you always get in every Dead Space game. Yes, thank you, Plasma Cutter. Yeah, that's my main setup because of how strong it is. But I guess we can move on to number 4.
Hold on, was this question about weapons?
No, we just kind of sidetracked a little bit.
got off
for-
on a tangent.
Yeah.
Oh, is that in the document, by the
bad.
way?
Yeah, there
No.
is.
Yeah, it's number 5.
Okay, alright. I can save mine for that then.
All right. So on number 4, which Necromorph design was the best / scariest for you? Okay, for me personally, all of them ugly as shit. So it did the job. I don't.
They did the job.
Yeah, so I don't have a personal favorite though, but the one that stood out to me the most was actually in Dead Space 3. It's an unkillable monster for your normal guns, so you have to actually run away from it. I'm not sure if you made it there, down, but I forgot what the name of it is called though. But it's a very, very strong monster that if you shoot it down, it will only stun it, not kill it.
Is it the bully or the hunter or something like
It might as well be a bully.
that? I genuinely think it's called that.
Yeah, that one stood out to me the most.
Fuck, I think I might know what it is, but it could be spoilers, so I'm not gonna say anything.
I mean, there is so many different designs. My favorite, well, no, the one that scares me the most is probably the divider, the one that runs around in like a lab coat. That when you shoot it, it like splits off like into little
Oh,
bits.
yeah.
That creeps me out.
You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say it. That one's mine too, 'cause especially if you get killed by it, it just fucking rips your head off, sticks its tentacles down your neck, and like creepily starts walking and shambling, and it's that one's just no.
The death animations in Dead Space have always been like gruesome, but that one is my least
top
favorite.
It's top tier for how fucking bad it is.
So I think one of the funnier ones from Dead Space 3 that I've seen so far is like the walking corpses down in the ice planet, because like they're basically just like they're necromorphs, but they're not at the same time. It's kind of weird because like they basically were feeding on necromorph flesh, and because like they were out of, like,
they
food
turned
supplies
into
and shit
kind
like
of
that. So
more
it's
like traditional zombies.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like it like they start like turning into like this like rubbery, like kind of like fleshy looking monster, but they still look human. It looks really fucking weird.
Yeah, they don't have any of the claws, do they?
No, they just have their like typical like arms and legs, but they're like they almost look like somebody who's been like who's bulimic almost, because they're like so like skinny and shit like that. Like you could probably fucking snap that shit in half if you really wanted to. Yeah, because they always put them in like crowded rooms and shit, and I always thought that it was kind of interesting to know that you can sneak past them if you don't like try to like make any noise in the room and shit like that. So.
Anyone else want to go on this? Brendan?
I already gave my thing earlier. I said like I already gave my favorite. It's I think from 3.
Oh yeah, the spoiler one, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of
Just
mine.
as a quick one first, too, just the general designs of the necromorphs are really cool because it's not so wildly off that you couldn't believe it anyway. So like, you know, the reason that your typical slashers have the scythe arms is because that's how the bones mutated to just come out as scythes. And I mean, I always thought that just original design was really cool and scary because it's just like a regular looking person, but they got scythe hands because their bones done mutated.
I'm gonna say, the fucking pregnant one is creepy because I always make that mistake of shooting them in the stomach and then here come the babies. Here we go.
Oh, you're talking about the fat one that
Yeah.
Yeah. All the little,
I mean, that's
like,
actually they're actually just called pregnant.
Yeah, they're just called pregnant.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
fuck those
actually, you know
guys.
what? The fucking the ones that are like stuck in the wall that shoot out the little like miniature versions of them. That
Oh
annoying.
yeah, that
projectiles,
moaning
those
sound
are-
they make. Oh god damn, that's creepy.
Yeah, there's some in Dead Space 1 they have like at least like 1 or 2 that are stuck in the wall that haven't fully mutated yet, but they still make the scream if you like flash the if you like aim and then have the light shining on them.
Yeah.
Which means that
I
they're
didn't know
sensitive
that.
to light, I think.
Is that the one where if you get too close to it near the wall, it will kill you
It one hits
instantly?
you.
Yeah, I hate that
Yeah.
one. Because you gotta do so much shit to get around it. It's like kind of annoying.
I end up wasting so much ammo on them.
I just kill them because, especially, I think there's one room in Dead Space 1 where you have to get nose from there, and the only way to do it is by killing that thing, so I just lay waste to it, honestly.
Just one more design for me for the Necromorphs is the Stalkers from Dead Space 2 and 3. Thought they were really cool.
Those raptor motherfuckers.
Yeah,
Oh,
first time encountering them. Man, did I die very quickly.
I don't like them
Did not-
because...
did not know-
Especially the way they just charge towards you and start screeching, and you're like, oh fuck, where's the new gun? Where's the gun? I need something.
They hide
Where are
too. They like hiding, so it's kind of hard because I was playing that on like I think it was hard mode. I forgot what it's called, but they like to linger in the dark a lot, so it kind of gets on your nerves a little bit.
Yeah, they ended a couple of my attempts at a hardcore run.
Ugh.
Actually, is there a question on like the zero gravity combat that they have in like some of the games? Because like 2 and 3 give you like so much mobility in space.
No, but
There actually isn't.
now
No,
it
there
is.
isn't.
Now it is.
Let's go.
So, what do you guys think of the like combat in space, like being just in zero gravity and being able to like kind of like dart
3
around
did the
your-
best. Yeah,
Yeah.
1 was kind of ass. I
Because
didn't
3 you
remember
actually get to like go outside into space, whereas 2 you're just kind of stuck on the scroll. And I mean, 1's not really much different than the normal combat because you don't fly around through the air.
Okay, so
Um,
Dead Space 1 for those zero G sort of planet sections, they were trash because the one I hated the most is when you have to jump to an asteroid or something and you have to like attach the one with the spikes, like it's like a little planet-sized asteroid and there's like spikes going back and forth, and if you don't get the collectible in time you'll die. I really hated that segment because it felt like trial and error to the max. It's like either I'm gonna, have my oxygen run out or I'm going to die by these spikes, and it got really annoying.
Plus, they had those lurkers on the outside too. That was not good either.
Also,
Yeah.
the sort of battalion exploding segment where Isaac has to hide behind these sort of electric panels while the planet like
Oh, God.
blows up. If you aren't on point, you're just gonna die. So it's like it feels like the zero G is trial and error so much in the first one, and then the second one it gets kind of decent, and the third one is like sort of perfected. So that's how I feel about them.
Yeah, that last one, the one you were just talking about, where you had to walk on the outside of the Ishimura and get your way to the ADS cannons, which, by the way, is another fucking segment I hate. It's pretty bad, because that last time that I did it, I mean, I no shit had less than a second of oxygen left before that door closed, because I was like, fuck, I made it inside, and I'm going to have to do all that again, because I have less than a second. But I just barely managed to squeak by on that.
Yeah, it feels like that entire part just sucks. Like, and then you have to get on the sort of mini game where you have to shoot the rocks, and playing that on hard mode, it's just if one of them hits you, that meter goes like up to 20 or 30%, and I'm like, fuck.
Oh,
It's really just it gets on my nerves at that rate.
Dude, trying to get the get less than 50% damage trophy on that. Fuck that. That was such cancer.
I forgot there was an
hated it.
achievement for that. Wow.
Yeah, there's one for the boss that you have to do in that section, but it's a little bit more forgiving.
Yeah, it's just I much preferred it into where it's just like obviously you got a waypoint, you got to go here, and it seems pretty lenient with the oxygen. It's like it doesn't run out super fast like one.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
I've
zero.
forgotten one. You almost have to upgrade your oxygen, otherwise you're not ever gonna have enough. Because I very rarely ever use the oxygen tanks in two.
I think
Because
it's
you know they were spread out enough that it was still a challenge, but not that you couldn't do it. Whereas in one, it's like, okay, here's one at the beginning of the area, and you're fucked for the rest of the way.
I think it starts at like 50%, and then you have to upgrade the rest.
Yeah.
So if you step outside for like literally 10 to 15 seconds, maybe a little bit more, you're just gonna die.
Pretty much.
Yeah,
And yeah,
well,
that section
you
we
have,
were just
like-
talking about with the asteroids hitting the Ishimura, that was still after me upgrading my oxygen 3 times, and I still barely squeaked by. So again, fuck that section.
Yeah. I think with like the oxygen in one, they were not that forgiving because I think you only start off with like 65 seconds or some shit like that.
Yeah, it's somewhere around
yeah.
there.
And I think it like bumps it up to like a total of like 100 seconds, something like that.
I think it's 130 total. I might be wrong, but
Yeah.
it's somewhere in that area.
Yeah, it's like very low. Like whereas compared to like because I had only just recently started playing Dead Space 3. Like Dead Space 3, you have like almost like fucking 300 seconds to like explore
Yeah.
in space. That's
Oh,
like
dude.
more than enough.
The amount of air you can get in 3 is insane. You can stay in space for a long ass time without needing to refuel. And not to mention, you
Yeah.
get canisters in middle of space, so you can stay in space for pretty much indefinitely, so long as there's canisters around.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
yeah.
as long as you use the fucking what is it, the stasis to like bring it over,
Yep.
you can just bring it over to
Kinesis,
you,
yeah.
refill it.
Yep.
Your friend could just hang out for like a few seconds until that like goes green again, and then you could use it, and it's like, yeah, there's like no need to ever upgrade like your oxygen in 3. Even in
Oh, I
2, you can-
recommend upgrading it because it's so worth it. Because I mean, by the time you get to the end of the game, you have everything unlocked. But go ahead.
Like even in 2 though, like you're not out in space that much. Like the upgrades for your oxygen in 2 were not that extremely needed. Like you could do it, and it's worth it, but like you don't really need it per se.
Yeah, when I play Dead Space 2, I always upgrade everything out like that I possibly can, and then it's the oxygen because I've never been in a situation in Dead Space 2 where I've been like I'm gonna run out of oxygen because there's always an oxygen tank somewhere like close by.
Canister party. Canister party. Hey. Bring out the titties in space. No, don't do that.
No,
Infinite area.
not in that space. No.
Well, it's probably naked necromorphs, so but
I
moving
mean, yeah,
on.
they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on, if that's your thing.
No question.
Uh,
Number 5, right?
wait, I have a side question. Here.
Yes, dear.
Is there a question? Shut up. Is there a question about the Dead Space movies on the dock?
Yes.
Yes, there is.
Okay. Okay. So we could just move on to the next one then, which
We're about
is
to talk about Aftermath.
yeah. We gotta.
I can't wait.
Well, what question are we on now?
Number 5.
Five, I
We
think.
are on number 5.
Okay, so I'll read that off. What's your favorite weapon and suit?
Oh, I'm gonna go first on this one.
Go ahead.
My favorite suit personally is actually Copper's suit in Dead Space 3. Like it's my color scheme, red and black, and then the HUD is red too. It looks so much cooler in the dark than the ISIS suits. That's my personal favorite
I'm
one.
gonna give you that.
Yeah. On
So
top of that, there's a particular suit that Isaac has though, but I never remember us names. I can only tell you how they look or get a picture of them. But Isaac's DLC outfits are actually a lot better than ones he gets in the actual games.
That's true.
I think that's true for
Yeah.
both the first and second game.
Especially the first game.
Oh yeah, because I played through the first one with the obsidian suit. That just pure black looks so good, and the scorpion suit, it looked really good too, even with the little scorpion on his helmet.
Yeah.
Dude, that looks so cool. It's like red and a dark burgundy with black with the scorpion suit. What the fuck?
His
Oh yeah.
He has a zealot suit in the first game as well. That was DLC, and that like replaces the lights to make them white. And he's got like all the like marker like scribblings on the suit as well. It's like a whole gray suit. That
Oh
one looks pretty
yeah,
nice as
yeah, I do
well.
remember
That's a
seeing
good
that
one.
one.
Not as good as the Dead Space 2 one though, because the Dead Space 2 variation has like accents of red on it as well. But what is it? I think my favorite suit out of all the games would have to be, and keep in mind I have not played the Dead Space 2 Severed DLC, but I do really like the suit that the main character for that DLC gets. I think his name was Gabe.
Yeah.
He gets like a really cool like eyepiece, like kind of making it look more like almost like a cyborg suit of sorts. I feel like that suit looks really cool because it's very different from Isaac's in that sense. It almost looks like he's got like a scanner of sorts on his helmet. Also, his lights are not blue; his are orange, which is very different from most of the other like characters that we've seen have suits of some kind.
Yeah, his definitely was really unique. Now, for mine. Oh wait, did you want to do your favorite weapon with that?
Oh, me?
Yeah, before we continue on.
Okay, so as much as I like all the weapons in Dead Space 1 and 2, I'm gonna have to say Dead Space 3, I just like being able to just make whatever the fuck I want and have like a ridiculous amount of lasers on it. So I basically have made like a fucking plasma rifle with a line gun on it, and I love that shit. So I feel like that's my favorite weapon. Just throwing a fucking shotgun on top of a assault rifle.
Especially when you get the right mods for it, because you can make some damage and shit.
Oh yeah.
Yo, I'm surprised nobody mentioned the Mass Effect DLC suits for Dead Space 3. The N7.
yes.
I was going to.
That was gonna be mine. Was the fucking N7 suit? Yeah.
Yes, that's
I
so.
agree with that.
Say that as well.
I agree with that one. That was the second best. I still love Carver's outfit more, but yeah, that's definitely good.
That's definitely a good bit of fan service, and whenever I do my playthrough of Dead Space 3, that's gonna be the one I'm rocking the whole time because it looks so cool because it is Shepard's N7 suit, but it's been like Dead Spaced out, and oh man, it looks so fucking cool. And then beyond that, I pretty much would have the same thing. I'd say I like not Carver's, Gabe's. Gabe's would probably be a close second because yeah, he's got the singular eye, which I think that has to do with because he's a soldier, not an engineer. Which, by the way, shout out to Isaac doing all this shit. He's not even a soldier. He's a fucking 50-year-old engineer.
Yep.
You know? No, actually, I was surprised to realize that he's like 50.
He's in his 40s.
You know,
He's in his 40s.
Oh, is he in his 40s? I thought he's
He's still in his
early
40s.
50s. Oh, okay.
Hold
I
on,
mean,
let me
still,
double
though,
check
that's
real
not
quick.
the kind of protagonist that you usually kind of see. So that was
He's
really, really
49.
cool that they did that.
He's old as fuck.
Okay, so that was close.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, whenever I figured
Redfield
that out, I was like, "Oh, damn, that's kind of cool that they made a protagonist that old and that badass when he's not a soldier or anything."
Yeah, 5'3", he's 49.
So yeah,
Oh,
besides
shit.
those for the suits, I gotta say, hands down, besides the gun customization in 3, the foam finger is my favorite weapon.
Oh, I knew someone was gonna say that.
Dude, all that shit you have to go through in hardcore for it is well worth it. I mean,
It's
I
so good.
breezed through whatever the second Zealot. I breezed through Zealot difficulty because I beat hardcore first, and oh man, chef's kiss.
That is
But
the greatest
beyond the
weapon known
stupid
to man.
OP joke weapon, I would say I think the javelin gun would be my favorite. Just
Aw.
because you're able to fire explosive bolts into them and then shock them with electricity. I always thought that was freaking cool. The contact beam, and the plasma cutter is what I run in the hardcore mode for Dead Space 2, and to me, those are my 3 best weapons.
For me, my favourite weapons change between Dead Space 1 and 2. Dead Space 1 is the plasma cutter and the line gun. And the line gun's really used for the ones that like have the 3 tentacles that shoot you. I can't remember what they're called. Is it Lurker or something like
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's Lurker.
that? And then Dead Space 2, it changes to plasma cutter and force gun. And they're the 2 guns I used the whole way through hardcore and all that. I think they're great.
Yeah, for sure they are.
The force gun is just such a like saving grace like gun. Like if you ever feel like you're getting overwhelmed, just switch to it and just you're safe. Like
Oh yeah, Force gun is a good oh shit gun.
yeah, it's a panic gun definitely. And yeah, with the customization for Dead Space 3, it is pretty much like any of them. So like a mix of either a plasma cutter and a force gun, or line gun and a force gun, or plasma cutter and a line gun. Some variation of that. For the suits, can I just cheat because everyone said my favorites? Can I just say I like the Isaac Clarke suit from Dragon Age 2? Like, yeah,
Actually, you know what? Okay, sorry. You know a random fun fact? Isaac is actually playable in Dante's Inferno as a Cold.
Oh, is it?
That's right. I forgot about that.
Isn't he also in PlayStation All Stars?
Yeah, he's
He
PlayStation
is,
All
and
Stars.
He's also in was it
Army
Skate
2? Skate 2, Army of 2, the 40th Day, the PSP version. What else? Let's see. Yeah, Skate 2, Little Bit Planet, My Sims.
Isaac was a
Yeah, I forgot he was
whore.
on-
He was a straight whore for EA back then. Holy shit.
All
Yeah.
over the place.
Now he's dead.
He's
I
dead.
do gotta say too, was on the subject of suits, I really like the upgrade they did from 1 to 2, because 1 it just kind of seemed like it was something they wore, whereas 2 it kind of feels like it could be one of Iron Man's suits where he puts on a little thing and then it just clacks all over his body. I fucking love the first time you actually get your suit in 2 and your helmet just and goes over your head instead of him just like sticking something on his head. I fucking love that part.
I
I
really don't
think-
like this Dead Space 1 suit. I think it's honestly it's really ugly. I know it doesn't look cool to me.
It's pajamas with
So
some
as
metal
far as
bits
I'm
on it.
aware, so as far as I'm aware, I think that in the case of Dead Space 1, they try to make it so that like he's just an engineer going on this like old rustic ship, so he's getting like all this old gear basically. Whereas
Right.
in the Sprawl and Dead Space 2, and even in the case of Dead Space 3, like everything that he's getting is pretty much new. And I think specifically in the case of Dead Space 2, the Iron Man movies were just starting to come out at that time. And so they were taking inspiration from that in terms of just like the like movement in the suit when you're just on rails and just trying to get from like point A to point B while flying in the suit. As well as just
I
having
didn't
the
think
suit
about
being
that.
put
You're
on
right,
that.
because
Yeah.
the first Iron Man came out either right before or right after Dead Space, because I think it came out in 2008, right?
Yeah, and
And so they must
and-
have taken
yeah.
inspiration from that.
yeah, Iron Man 2 came out in 2010 or 2012.
So,
Okay, so yeah, they must have seen Iron Man when they were working on Dead Space 2, and they're like, you know what, that would look a little bit smoother and it'd look a little bit more cinematic and cool. So they must have done that. I didn't
Yeah.
even think about that.
All right. So is everybody done? We're concluded. We're good.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
we're good.
Let's move on to the next one.
All right. This is gonna be a fun question. Rank the Dead Space franchise from best to worst.
I could see some disagreement here.
All right. Get your knives and whatnot, boys. Let's go. Who
I'll
want that
go
first?
because I haven't played
Load up your
all
plasma
the
cutters and your
Dead Space
rippers.
games, so I have no opinion on the Dead Space spin-offs because I haven't played them. So as far as those are concerned, out of the question. Are we counting movies as well, or
No, because it's games only.
Just games.
just games only? Okay. So this is kind of tough for me because I really like the movement and combat in 2, but I really like the environment and atmosphere in 1. So they're kind of neck and neck for me, but I feel like 2 is just a little bit higher because of that, because of like the combat and stuff being better. I can't really speak on 3 because I haven't finished it, so I'm just gonna kind of leave that on the same kind of status as like the spin-offs where I just haven't really played that. So personally, I feel like 2 is just, again, better only by a slight margin in terms of 1 versus 2, but that's just my opinion.
All right, I'm gonna go next. Now, yeah, this will reference to Jimmy's. I know it, but my favorite is actually 3. Here's why, though. Like, from a general improvement, like gameplay wise, it's a much bigger improvement from 2 to from 1 to 2, 2 to 3. Top of that, I love the co-op aspect of it on how it changes the game. On like so many levels, like I mentioned before, like the dialogue, character placement, you name it, like it's a different experience. As I mentioned, you actually get more narrative because there's some segments where you can only do it in co-op.
Yeah.
And top of that, no, I just love the gun customization. Like the gun customization is so addicting. Like you could do so many combinations and modify it the way you want to. Like that right there just trumps it all for me. Second place would be honestly Dead Space 2. Now I do agree with Dom though. I prefer like the environments in 1 like Ishimura because it definitely felt more creepy, air quotes. But overall, just 2 was just a better made game. On top of that, you have voice acting, so that gave Isaac more character. Like I actually felt more no, what's the word I'm looking for?
Connected to the character.
Yeah, I was about to say Kraven's connected.
Yeah, connected. Yes. Yeah, I felt more connected to the characters and in the world, thanks to the character actually speaking rather than interpreting it myself. Like, come on, like that gets kind of boring when, or just I lose interest in the game where the character doesn't talk as much as it should, because RPGs are guilty of it. But so yeah, like Dead Space 2, number 2 on my list. Now number 3 is going to be interesting. I like Dead Space 1, but I do not like the controls, mainly the control scheme. But I do like the on rails game. Was it Ignition? Was it, or is it Extraction? I get confused because I do apologize for that. But yeah, I do like Extraction a lot though. It's definitely a fun on rails game. It's up there with like Resident Evil, Umbrella Chronicles for me. So I might rank that number 3, and then Dead Space 1 number 4. Number 5 could be Dead Space Mobile. I'm not sure if you guys played that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I've completely forgot about that as well.
I only know about it because what's his face? Avalanche Reviews just talked about it in his Dead Space retrospective. And I didn't even know that it was a thing until then. So
yeah, because they locked it behind 1 platform, like 1 OS thing. So in other words, it had no life. Only. It had no life whatsoever, and you cannot get the game anymore either. So that game is literally lost in history unless you can find a way to emulate it or something. Whatever way you get it.
You can emulate it, but as far as it currently stands, it crashes if you try to run it. So.
Yeah, so that game is lost in history. Like, there's no way to play it.
Yeah, as it currently stands.
And last but not least, Ignition. That game is a piece of shit. I don't know why that game was made. I wish it was never made. It shouldn't have existed. A puzzle game? Really? What the fuck is this? Like, get this shit out of here.
But damn, tell us how you really feel.
Is that game even canon?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. It's. I tried to do some research on it for my channel. I wanted to see which path was the most canon, and it's kind of up in the air. But it kind of seems like there's 1 or 2 paths that seem to be more canon than the others. But it's kind of hard to pin down a proper answer. So yes and no. I think the only part that's really, really, really canon would be the very end when he frees Isaac. That would be pretty much it. But that rolls into Dead Space 2 and what we've already seen. So yeah.
Yeah, essentially all the games are canon though, just take place in different points of history.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. It's that game trash. Don't play it.
I'm trying to think of. Well, I didn't answer the last one with the favorite gun, so I'm just gonna throw that out real quick. Favorite gun, Ripper. Just rip shit up.
Oh,
It's fantastic. It's just shoot the blaze and cut them in half. It's the best thing in the world. As for this
Can't
question,
go wrong with shooting saw blades.
yep. As for this question, I would say Dead Space 2 is top because I feel like it just got mostly everything right. I know people will say, well, it's an action game now, but I really dug it. Like, it got the controls better, mechanics are better, the stomp is better. And I like when Isaac swears when he stomps people out. That's the funniest thing in the world to hear him say motherfucker when he does that.
Die!
Fucking
Piece of
die!
shit!
Piece of
Fucking
shit.
die! That's what he says like every fucking time. I
Yeah.
love it.
It's the greatest thing ever, dude. But yeah, 2 got mostly all the aesthetics right, and the fact that Isaac talks, like Brandon said, it entered a new level of connectivity to the character, which was not in the first one because he's a mute. I would say Dead Space 3 is my second favorite because going back to that game, I gave it a hard time last time. I'm like, this is bad, trash, etc. Then I played it on PC and I'm like, you know what? This is age with time. It's the same feeling with RE6. Like, once it gets a little wine in there, you know, and you get drunk and everything, it's really good. And the last one, I'm just ranking like the main 3. The last one would be the first one. I'm not saying it's a bad game from an aesthetic point of view because it is really the best atmosphere of the main 3. The problem is the gameplay mechanics have not aged well from 2008. You got a silly ass stomp that barely works. I noticed in that game they have a habit of more enemies sneaking behind you in hard mode. So you end up taking unnecessary hits for not seeing anything in your point of view, which really sucks in that game. And it felt like it's just their first attempt at doing a game like this, as opposed to 2 or 3 where they actually refined the level design. So I would say Dead Space 1 is my last in terms of gameplay mechanics solely. And that's it.
For me, the best is Dead Space 2. Like some people have said, it's just Dead Space 1 but refined, like better controls. They've just made it, improved on it, and made the character more just connected. You like he swears all the time, which is a understandable reaction. And
I
then
can relate to that.
yeah. And then second for me would probably be the first one, just all the nostalgia, where it all began, and just seeing how it all started for Isaac. Which sadly means the worst one for me is the third. Well, no, is the third one, but it's still not a bad game. Like, putting it third doesn't make it mean I don't like it any more than like the first one or something like that. It's just sadly it's there. Also I played Ignition, and yeah, that is the worst one. I don't understand it is just puzzles. But it is nice that if you beat the game, like if you complete the whole game, like you unlock extra rooms in Dead Space 2 if you link your save datas and stuff, which is a nice little like incentive, I guess, because you get extra loot and extra items, and when you're playing it, and it helps out on harder difficulties.
Sadly, it's a console exclusive thing, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's unfortunate with Dead Space. Like, the PC side gets cucked over so badly unless you're 3.
Yeah, I feel like that's more so the worst with Dead Space 1, though, because like Dead Space 1 has nothing. It's very bare bones. Whereas Dead Space 2, at least you get some of the content that was going to be at one point console exclusive.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I didn't want to bother playing one on PC, because there's nothing else there. Like, I know, like, I should be judging it based on the content it has, but come on, like, how come the consoles have everything? Especially if you play it like on, on PlayStation, right? Because you can play all the games on PS3. Not just all of the games on Xbox 2 except for one game though. But essentially, you can play all the games on one platform, and you have all the content. Whereas on PC, you only have 3D games, right? And only one has practically all the content, and the other has some of the content, and another has none of it. Like,
The the only thing I will say with like, especially in the case of like Dead Space 1, I can't really speak on this for Dead Space 2, but at least with Dead Space 1 on PC, you could run it at a higher frame rate, which is very nice because I was playing that at 30 FPS on console, and it was just a very smooth experience. So like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like, if EA wants to pull their heads out of their ass and maybe do like a remastered trilogy for like PS5 and Series X, and maybe even for PC with like RTX support and shit like that, I would definitely buy it.
Yes, please.
the unfortunate problem is, but the unfortunate problem is with Dead Space is that the games do not run the best. They gotta definitely tweak some things because playing the game at a higher frame rate could also break the game. Because God knows how many times I've messed up the game when I'm just playing at a higher frame rate.
I was able to play it just fine at 124.
It's fun experience though. Just they need to
Yeah.
tweak it where it's not the environments are glitching out, especially in the first game. Because I have things that are just moving in place for no reason, and every time I move, it moves with it. Like, it makes no sense though. They gotta tweak stuff like that in order for them to do like a proper remaster, you know?
I feel like
Yeah,
the
definitely. They
ragdoll is
can't
the
just
funniest
slap
shit.
on a port.
The ragdoll in the first game is the funniest shit on PC, because if you have your shit
Oh,
up to
yeah.
like 144 frames per second or even higher, if you have a monitor and a graphics card that could do that, you know, the ragdoll goes like fucking insane. If it gets clipped on a door, all you hear is like, like, just, and
Yeah,
it gets
that's
louder
just
too.
Does
funny.
that on the console.
Like, it gets
I
louder
think
on
for-
PC. That's what makes it funnier. So.
Yeah.
It follows you too, man. Like, I think I have footage on my computer of me playing Dead Space 1. Because I was with some other mutuals, and yeah, we were all just laughing at how broken the fixes are.
I think my ranking on them, I mean, it'd be pretty much the same as most everybody. I'd say 2 is the best, I think, in my opinion, just because it's more refined, and again, I spent the most time with that one, so I think I got kind of the most attached to it. But also, you know, it's definitely polished and refined. I like how much they improved from the first one. And I like the atmosphere and everything, probably the best with it. I'd have to put 3 directly behind it just because of pretty much what everybody else has said too. You know, you've got the co-op, which can radically change the story. You know, not the end point or anything, but the characterization of everybody in between. The co-op was good, and they took all the stuff that they had improved on in Dead Space 2 and they polished it even further into 3. Dead Space 1 unfortunately gets put behind those two because, yeah, playing it over a decade later, it's a chunky boy and it's not very smooth. And then beyond that, I'd probably just have to put Extraction because, you know, it's an on-rail shooter. It's not bad. It's not overly good, but it's not overly bad. It's a pretty decent Dead Space story. It's a nice prequel, and like I said, you get, or like I think it was Dom said earlier, you got to see more of Carver, or I'm sorry, not Carver, Gabe, and some more of his story. Because, you know, if you had just played 2, you're just kind of like, okay, who's Gabe? He just kind of came out of nowhere because the DLC and Extraction came out around the same time, and well, I don't think Ignition
Yeah.
is as bad as you guys do. It is the one that's removed the most from the series. That's kind of like, it was a fun little game. Which, thinking back on it, they actually had a lot of those kind of smaller games of bigger franchises back around that time. Like, you also had your Dead Rising Case Zeros and things kind of like that. But it was the most far removed. I mean, the story was kind of neat, and the comic book style of how it played out was cool. But like, the puzzles kind of don't fit with the rest of the story, so it's just kind of weird.
I just know that for what is it? Extraction is the one, the rail shooter, right?
Yeah, Extraction's a rail shooter.
So
Which
that
also, I
one, as
think
far
playing
as
that with the controller is bad. I think that's one of those where you need to play it with
Yeah.
motion controllers. Because I played it with my PlayStation 3 controller, and I kept getting pissed at it. I'm just like, I need a move controller to play this.
So with that one in particular, I just know that it's like it's basically Dead Space Zero because it's the story that takes place before Isaac gets on to the Ishimura and shit like that. And then then they have the DLC for 2, which kind of continues that story, and it's it's interesting how they kind of left that shit out for other platforms as well. I think for Extraction in particular, though, to kind of help people that wanted to play that, at least on the PlayStation side of things, there are some copies of Dead Space 2 that have Extraction on the disc, and then there are some copies that don't have the game on the disc but have the demo for that game on the disc.
It might have been like post-release editions, because I think my friend had the one with the game on the disc.
Yeah, I think this was like a time when there were some games where they did that. Like I know Assassin's Creed Revelations did that, where like there are certain editions of that game. It came with the first game already on the disc.
Anybody else? Gotta go? We're good?
I think I'm good.
Good. All right. Hey, Ryan, you did win, right? Yeah, you did. I remember.
Which question is this?
Actually, you read off number 7.
Number 7? Okay. So, did you like the inclusion of the spin-offs, Extraction, Ignition, and the other media, the movies, the novels, etc.?
Well, we already talked about the spin-offs because, we just talked about best to worst. So I guess we can just talk about the other medias now, right?
Yeah, you can. The movies, novels, etc.
Now, obviously, we watched the movies, except for the last one. I didn't see Aftermath, I think, because of, fucking hurricanes. And I didn't read the novels. So my knowledge is only on the movies.
Did you see
the first movie was amazing, though.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I think that was Downfall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the ending was tearful, I'll admit. Like, that girl, literally, she's the last one. She did everything she could to send the signal, and boom, she died for it.
Oh, yeah, she got shot in space, I believe. Yep. That movie was great.
It would have been interesting if she was an extra survivor and you run into her in the first game. I think that would have been pretty damn cool to have her as a mainstay character, but we got Ellie for that, right?
I think it's interesting how both that character and the other character in Aftermath both get flung out into space. One of which was kind of intentional because they had no other choice. The other one was under hallucination of the marker, which is kind of funny because they kind of, even though like the fucking visuals for the weird CGI that they had in Aftermath was really bad, it's kind of a bit of a reference to Event Horizon because somebody else dies in that movie in the same way. So, or almost dies, I think, in that movie.
Well, I think at least the good part about Aftermath is they did try something. So, they tried to have, the different perspectives of everybody be different animation styles. And, like, I get that doesn't jive with everybody, and it doesn't always look good, but I can at least appreciate what they tried to do. Because it didn't really work for Dante's Inferno either. It kept throwing me off.
I think,
no, it did not, dude. That was... Ugh.
I think the problem with, like, in the case of Dead Space Aftermath, like, if they had gotten rid of the CG, like, everything else would have been fine. Although it was very weird to see them switch to, like, a hentai art style by the end and, like, sing, like, fucking...
Yeah.
And, like, Strauss suddenly has, like, a fucking 8-pack and shit, and I'm like,
Dude,
what the fuck? That's not what Strauss looks like!
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, he looks like a Evangelion, like, what the fuck happened?
And, like,
He's about
what
to
is
stab
it?
his screwdriver,
like,
if you know what I mean.
Like, the doctor, I think her name was, like, Dr. Cho, and she's, like, she's got an ass and some titties, and I'm like, wait the fuck a
Look.
minute. This is
Where
not
have they
the
been
same
the whole
character.
film?
The whole crew members, they saw them titties because she did not cover up, and I'm like,
yeah,
anyone
that's
notice
true.
that? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, like
Someone
Wait, what
should
movie is this
know.
again?
This is Aftermath, dude. Yeah.
I need to do some research.
we
Yeah,
recently
like-
just watched that. Yeah, like
Dude, that movie's hilarious. I think we just died laughing with the 3D black guy getting shot into space, and he's like T-posing. I'm like, oh,
yeah, like
dude.
that shit, like
Yeah.
like it looked bad in that movie just because it was in like CG. Like I understand, like, you know, for Dead Space there's a lot of like sci-fi horror references that they like to make in this franchise, and that was probably one of them specifically because they like to reference Event Horizon a lot in this franchise.
Mhm.
So you know that's understandable, but you gotta make it look like just as good as that movie if you're
Oh,
gonna make
okay,
a
hold
reference
up.
to that.
Talk about this.
Oh, it's being posted in chat.
Oh, here we go.
No, it wasn't not that one. There's another one. There's another one in a different art style.
Yeah, I don't know why they pulled a Dante's Inferno where they kept changing the art style like every single. I think it was every 20 minutes. Just changes to something else.
It was with each flashback, so yeah, probably every 20 minutes there was a new art style, and it was a bit confusing because you'd get characters look completely different by the end of the film.
I think the main one was the commander. Like each and every single time we saw him, he's just a basic dude with like white hair. But every time we saw this guy, he looked completely abnormal.
One time he had a massive mustache, and then he had no mustache, and then he had a massive beard, and then no beard. It was just like, what
he
the
had,
fuck's
like,
going on with your
different
facial hair, bro?
Yeah, he was like getting like different fucking haircuts and shit, and I was like getting ready to call him like fucking Space Tamim because like he changed his hair more than fucking Tamim does. Tamim Antoniada is the guy that did the DMC reboot for context, but like I was like damn near close to calling him that because his hairstyle just kept changing and beard style.
Yeah, but the first movie was great. The second movie was, you know, it was entertaining in my opinion, although it wasn't as strong as the first because I think the flashback sort of it just sort of makes it less consistent, and the art style does not help that movie's case either. So I would say it's definitely not as good as the first one. The first one just feels like it's straightforward. You know what's happening. Survivors are here, and I like the little references that they make to the Dead Space series. I think in the second one they actually talk about Strauss, and they put him in cryostasis before that movie ends in the second one. So
Yeah,
it's
'cause
pretty cool.
Strauss is in that movie.
Yep, he is, and he also looks different in every singular art style, which is weird.
He's unrecognizable in the CG.
Yeah.
It wasn't until someone actually told me while we were watching that was Strauss. And I was like, what?
I haven't read the books, but has anyone here read the novels?
No.
That's interesting. What about you, Dead Man? Any novels? Dead Space? Nope. He's dead. All right.
No, that was my bad. I forgot I was still on mute.
He's undead.
Yeah. I read one of the novels back in the day. I don't remember which one, and I don't honestly remember what it was about. But I kind of remember thinking that, unlike Lovecraft, which kind of really works with the whole unknown thing, Dead Space is definitely more visual with its visceralness, and it was kind of hard to translate that into a book. I mean, it wasn't bad by any means. I just think it ended up being one of those things where I just would have preferred to play the game or watch one of the movies.
Just have a picture showing you what it looked like.
Yeah. Yeah. If they had included some pictures in there, it might have been alright.
I think there might have been a Dead Space comic series.
There was
Yeah,
actually.
there was,
Yeah,
'cause
there
I think
is.
that's
There
what
was.
Ignition's art style was based off of.
Oh, okay.
I read the first Dead Space comic, and it's actually not that bad. It captures the atmosphere of Dead Space pretty well. It's just mostly survivors getting infected, and they don't know what the fuck's going on before the events of the first one. So, if you're into that, if you're into more prequel lore, I would suggest picking it up, or maybe doing what I do and reading it online through your heart means. If you don't want to find an expensive graphic novel,
Yeah, sail the seven seas.
Sail the seven seas. But yeah, it from what I read, is pretty good. The only problem with the comic is that the first issue, I think the first few, that art style is pretty weird. Like, you're gonna see triangle people for a minute. Like, I'm talking
Triangle people.
I'm talking Spider-Man PS4 boat people. Like, some of their faces are weird, dude.
Oh god.
Spider-Man PS4 boat people. They're a whole race now, I guess.
Yes, they are.
You're tripping, Ren.
That's fucking wonderful.
But other than that, I guess we can move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Which
What was that question? Is this? Oh, number 8.
Yep,
I can read
number
this
8.
off. What new inclusions would you personally like to see?
So for gameplay, lore,
Anything.
Anything.
just make a new one.
Yep.
Like, Jesus Christ.
Just give me a conclusion.
Give me a Dead Space 4. Done.
So I'm gonna
Actually,
be kind of
real
weird
quick.
here.
Wait, hold on. Actually, I got something. I want them to include multi-worlds again, instead of just cutting you off in one segment. Because that's the thing that Dead Space 3 did, where you have multi-areas that you have available for side quests, gear, you name it, and you cannot go back to that spot. For obvious reasons, some areas it has to be locked behind because of story reasons. But I would like, for, say, hypothetical Dead Space 4, I would like to travel to different areas that's still available to me at that time before like an in-game segment happens.
So I'm gonna
Yeah.
be kind of weird here, and there's two things that I would like to see, and I think they should kind of take this out of like inspiration from the Silent Hill series. The first thing being that I feel as though I would like to see some like not like stupidly ridiculous like ultra riddle like puzzles from Silent Hill, but definitely some puzzles that are Silent Hill-esque, where you do have to kind of think about them in the context of like that lore and universe of Dead Space. The other thing would be I would like to see some more like melee weapons, because we kind of see that shit happen in the movies where like characters like grab things that are more melee based, but we don't really get the chance to do that in the games per se. All we get is the stomp, as far as like melee options are concerned. Well, the stomp and the punch, but we don't really get like like plasma swords and shit like that.
Well, I mean, you kind of get a little inkling of that in 3. If you attach like the hammer mod to it.
You
But
actually
in a
get a
general sense, I
plasma
see what
sword.
you mean.
You can
Oh,
actually
do
get a
you?
plasma sword in 3 by attaching it. I forgot what the belty is called. But yeah, that does take up ammo. But yeah, that's literally your cutting weapon.
Oh,
That's a
well,
melee
nice.
weapon.
more of that shit would be cool though. Like just seeing
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
different shit like that, like where it's maybe not necessarily dedicated to like just a like gun mod per se. Like imagine if you had like fucking I don't know, like I'm just gonna go out a limb and be like stupid ridiculous, but like imagine if you had like fucking like plasma Wolverine cutting arms or some shit like that. I don't know, like some
That'd be
really cool
fucking
shit, right?
awesome.
Like
What is this,
make
Dead
your
Rising?
make your fucking
Yes.
punches like more viable. Come on now, I'm just saying. Isaac's got a fucking mean fucking stomp game, but can't do shit with his punch game. Come on now.
That is
You know
true.
what? He's an engineer. He could rig that shit up too.
That is true. Like,
exactly.
I always hated how the punch is super ineffective, but the stomp is like great, is god tier.
Really is.
Yeah, the punch just kind of barely keeps him at bay, and the kick or the stomp's just like, oh, you wanted to disintegrate the whole thing? Okay.
You
They're never getting back from a stomp.
You don't punch on hard mode, like, you will die. Don't try it. Please don't try. Especially Dead Space 2. Like, it's terrible, man.
Yeah, so
I honestly always forget that punching is an option, to be perfectly honest.
Exactly. Yeah. See, that's why we need this kind of shit. But
Yeah, punching in 3 is not
it-
that good. Yeah.
aside from that, like I said, I think I would like to see kind of like some Silent Hill-esque type of puzzles in terms of like, you know, in the context of the Dead Space lore, especially with like the unitologist shit. Like, I just feel like that would be really cool to see. Nothing like too
There's a whole
stupidly
world to go
ridiculous.
with that.
Yeah, nothing like too stupidly ridiculous like in Silent Hill where you could just crank that shit up to like extra riddle. But you know, something
I get what you're
reasonable
saying.
in that
You want
context.
more lore context on puzzles.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like from the unitologists, because I don't think you see much of them, you know, in the series. Because I know in 3 they're pretty prominent, but not that much. So it'd be nice to see them make them actually more forefront.
Yeah,
I just
like
wanna-
definitely like being able to like explore that lore and trying to figure out like what else are they like delving into, what kind of things that we like don't really know about that hasn't been talked about or only has been alluded to but not really delved too much into. I think would be kind of cool in terms of like tying that into like puzzles and shit like that. So
Also, Genj, you were saying something? Genj?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. So I just wanted to clarify with the question: is it like if there was a new game, like if there was
It's-
a new Dead Space?
It's more of the fact, like, if they did continue it, or if there was something that was in the previous Dead Space games that you want to see push forward personally, what would you like to see from gameplay or lore or anything of that nature? Even
Okay,
in
sure.
media, like movies, novels, updates, stuff like that.
Because something I thought would have been really cool back when 2 and 3 came out was like because you in 2 you got the Severed DLC, and in Awakened you got no, not in Awakened, in 3 you got co-op with Carver. I thought it'd been pretty cool, like for 2 and 3 to have like maybe a DLC where you played as Ellie and did like Ellie's run through the like escaping essentially. But I mean that's. But then I wouldn't know how you'd include that. Like maybe in if there was to be any future games.
It's a cool idea, because I don't think we really, like, Isaac just mostly sees her on comms and that's it. So if they
Yeah.
did do a backstory of that before a hypothetical Dead Space 4, then I would be down for it.
Because also in 2, Ellie is with Stross for most of it.
Yep.
So it would have been kind of because you would have been able to see how they interacted with each other when they're not on comms, and like how she's having to try and keep him alive the whole time and stuff like this.
And he
You know-
takes her eye.
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that, Ren. When did she get a new eye?
I don't.
Sometime between 2 and 3.
Yeah, 2 and
Yep.
3.
I mean, I figured though, like, is it like? I want to know, like, where she get the eye from. I didn't think, honestly, given the timeline, like, they get capable of doing this kind of thing, though. But cybernetics was the last thing that was on my mind in the world of Dead Space, considering how different it is from other sci-fi games.
It's also weird they don't show it. Yeah, you're right about that. It's like she just has it in Dead Space 3, and I'm like, okay, I remember Strauss just stabs you with a screwdriver. It takes your eye, and now you have a new one.
Yeah, it's
Well,
weird.
and
It's
if you
never
also
brought
look
up either.
closely, it's a different color than her regular
Yeah,
eye, too.
isn't it
I think
blue?
one's green and one's blue.
Yeah.
I don't know if like in that's like as far as like the Dead Space universe is concerned, I don't know if they're able to like just like entirely recreate like parts of their bodies through the technology that they have, because I think in the Aftermath movie they had like one guy with like a prosthetic arm or some shit, right?
Yeah,
but
I
that
don't think
wasn't-
they're that far.
Yeah, so like I would assume it's either like just a glass eye or maybe like kind of like a cyborg eye of sorts.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say it's probably works like Thor's eye in Avenger. You know, he just pops it in. It's a mechanical eye, and it just works just fine. I think it works kind of like that.
Works because of the plot.
Right.
Yeah.
Because animating an eye is easier than animating a bandage. I don't know.
Imagine the manager that can look at you.
Also, going off what I said, they could have had. Again, this is like going way back, going on the first one. They could have gone with the I can't even remember his name now. The is it the general from the first one or the sergeant from the first one? I can't
Sergeant
remember his
Johnson?
name.
He's the guy that you talking about, the guy that controlled the scroll?
No, in the first one.
Are you talking about the Isaac's
oh.
commander at first?
Yes,
Yeah.
Commander. That's
The bald guy, the bald black guy.
Yes,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I couldn't remember
That's
his name.
that's all I remember him as. So I'm sorry I don't know his name, but yeah.
You know, the worst thing is I just played it and I can't remember his name either. I want to say it's like Johnson or something like that, but I don't remember. I just remember he dies. That's it.
Yeah, he dies, but he's also a character that you barely see throughout the first game. So if they wanted
Unless
to
it's
set,
on comms.
yeah, unless it's on comms. So if they
Yeah.
wanted to set up a prequel story, they could, because you could figure out what he's doing before Dead Space 1 until he actually dies in that final encounter. That's what I think the series was like really good at. Like, they were turning it into a meta series, and it's a lot of lore behind it, sort of like Halo and Resident Evil, where it's like other criteria to figure out the story, and plus they had DLC expansions as well. So, if that came back, I would like to see more of that leaned into, to be honest.
Yeah, like say just hypothetically, we got a remastered trilogy, then that could lead into them making a spin-off that's, you know, kind of side stories for some of these different people throughout the 3 games, you know, what they were doing while Isaac, and then in 3 while Isaac and Carver were roaming around, and then that could be a perfect thing to lead into Dead Space 4 should they come out with it.
Yep, but I think that's it for me on this question, unless we're moving on to the next one.
Yeah, we can move on to number 9.
All right.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and read this off again. Did you like the inclusions that EA implemented into the series, i.e., multiplayer in 2 and the co-op in 3? For 3 case, yes, I love the co-op, because for ours, it's completely optional. Don't need to bitch about it, because people bitch about that too much. But not only that, though, you actually get more story out of it, from not only from Carver's perspective, just in general, you know. So I love the co-op in 3, how they handled it. It's amazing. For multiplayer, not so much. Like, PvP is the last thing that Dead Space needed, nor I could imagine it having, you know? And fuck those children, dude. They can rip you to shreds in seconds.
Yeah, from what I noticed, it was certain Necromorph classes that were way better than others, like the babies with the sort of, I don't know, organic rockets that you could shoot at people. They were the best, but they were also paper mache. So Isaac players can just step on that shit and you're done. And there was also other characters that were fast that you want to play with, but they had medium health. So, I mean, it was fun for what it was, but Dead Space 2 multiplayer was pretty much just tacked on, run around, shoot shit with the engineers, or run around and play as the Necromorphs for a bit, and some of them suck worse than others. Like, I think maybe if they took the approach from Doom, where you could play with like a boss character for a bit as a power-up, that would have been a little bit more fun, but as it stands, it's like pretty much just tacked on. If they brought it back, it's something that you probably would play for like a weekend and you're done. The co-op was interesting because it actually changed the story and it was relevant to something. So I would say if they tried that again, that was the more interesting idea of the two.
Unfortunately, during that time, this is when EA started to shoehorn in things that didn't need to be shoehorned in, like the multiplayer.
Yep.
Even Mass Effect 3 had it, and I know a lot of people actually like the
God.
multiplayer for it, though. But like one of my friends James, like he likes the multiplayer for it though. So I can't speak on it because I haven't played it. But yeah, like that's EA was tacking on trying to get more profit out certain these games though, because they deemed Dead Space 2 a failure because they didn't bring back the advertising money.
Yeah,
But,
and I heard that the multiplayer and the co-op was something that actually took away resources. EA wanted this stuff in the game, and I think didn't Dead Space 2 have the season pass sort of thing or the online pass?
No.
They
Oh,
did?
yeah, they had the online pass.
Wait, really? 2 had online pass?
I swear it did.
It was an EA game in the early 2010s, so yeah.
It
I don't
definitely had
remember-
an online pass.
I don't remember this one having online pass. Holy shit.
Really quick too.
Yeah.
This is around the time that for pretty much every EA game, because one of you had mentioned the advertising, them not making the money back from the advertising.
Mhm.
There was a time where EA would push out like billions and billions of dollars for advertising, way more than the game needed to, and it would not make that return. It was like they were kind of like just getting mad at the devs for not making the money back that they had spent, when it's like, well, yeah, you kind of just spent a bunch of money you really didn't need to spend for this game as far as advertising goes, and really any other game.
To do the
Shit,
correction
Dead
though,
Space
no,
2
it
only had to be
was
like,
it was
Oh,
Dead
sorry, go
Space
ahead.
3 that had an online pass.
Oh, okay. Well, at least still like that was a
Did not have one?
No, 2 didn't have one.
2 didn't have one. Okay,
Oh.
so but still, that's still a fucked up thing for them to sort of do with games like that back then. And like I said, it also they confirmed on Eurogamer that the development of this multiplayer and the co-op took away resources and ideas from the actual products they wanted to do. I heard that Dead Space 3 was going to be wildly different until they decided, hey, co-op game. And I think they also mentioned that it was going to be scarier too, but they said, hey, co-op game, you gotta do this to appeal to more people. So I wonder how that could have been if there wasn't any co-op in the game, and would they have made this a scarier game than Dead Space 1?
Mhm.
It's just
Yeah.
it just leaves the questions in the air when you think about it.
It would have been a shame to not have the co-op in it though, but I would have been curious to see how Dead Space 3 would have actually turned out.
Yeah, same for 4 as well. They had those ideas and it just got scrapped.
Yeah, I liked the co-op in Dead Space 3. It was just different and new to the series, and it was just it did add a lot on. The multiplayer for 2, it wasn't needed, but I didn't mind it, like playing it a little bit. Like I said, there was the different classes and stuff for the Necromorphs. And I think even like the humans had different classes for like loadouts.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, it wasn't a necessary thing. Like it could have. I think Dead Space 2 would have been fine without it. But I didn't mind it. Like, I was quite happy to sit and play a couple games every now and then.
Anyone else on
Yeah,
the
that's pretty much
multiplayer?
how it is. I mean,
Go ahead.
oh yeah. I mean, Dead Space 3's co-op. You know, we've all said it. It was actually a pretty decent inclusion. It wasn't too bad. Be interesting to see what they could have done without it. 2's multiplayer was pretty unnecessary, but at least as far as it went, you know, it didn't try to do too much. You know, I think for the most part, it was almost always, or it was always basically, go to the subjective, try to complete it before the Necromorphs kill you. I don't think there was any other game modes. There might have been like a death match or something, but I mean, it was actually pretty solid and polished for what it was, but it was unnecessary. I can at least say it was a lot better than Bioshock 2's multiplayer, which that was pretty ass. It was so ass that they didn't even include it in the remaster.
Wait, that had a
the-
multiplayer too?
Yeah, Bioshock 2 did.
I didn't even know
I
that.
mean, it
Oh
was
yeah, it did.
Wow.
it was okay, but it was one of those things where I was like, I'd much rather just play Call of Duty because this is kind of broken.
I got to Bioshock 2 when the servers were dead, so I never got to play it.
Oh, you didn't miss much.
No, now I think about it, I think the servers are still up for Dead Space 2 on PC.
I think they are.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's surprising, actually.
Game night.
Oh god.
4v4.
That'd be
1v1 me,
hilarious.
mate.
But any more?
Alright,
Yes, settle it in Dead Space 2 multiplayer.
God damn it. Wait, hold on. So we actually can play Dead Space 2 multiplayer?
I don't know. I think
I
you
don't
can.
fucking know. I hope.
I'll say I don't know. 'Cause I couldn't go far into the game.
We
It's a
might
multiplayer because, well, you know.
might have
hope
to try
not.
that. Hold on. That might be an
Oh my
idea for the
God.
future. Get to be a naked necromorph with cheeks.
Nope, I'm AFK. Don't know what you're talking about.
I'll play.
But I guess we can move on to the next one. So, Brandon, you want to take number 10?
Sure. Do you think Dead Space could work as a more open world game rather than linear levels? Now for this one, I think it should do both. Like, it should be like more like open ending where you could go different spots, like how Dead Space 3 did it for the most part. But the levels themselves need to be like linear, while also being, I guess, semi a little bit more open. Give you more breathing room. I think they could do
I
a blend
think
of both rather than one over the other.
I think kind of slightly bringing it back to BioShock a little bit, I think it would work really well like that, where you have your different levels. Thinking more like the first or second BioShock, not necessarily Infinite, because Infinite's pretty linear. But the first and second BioShock, you had your level, and every level had this big open area, and you could pretty much go wherever you want at the start of every level. You had your objectives, and you did have some things that were kind of locked behind you needing to do some story stuff or go do a small puzzle or something like that. But I think it could work in a context like that. Like the levels and like let's just say the first and second one, they're kind of laid out like that, but they're still very linear on where you need to go. I think it'd be nice, if they kind of had that nice fusion of, yes, you have these linear levels per chapter, but you're free to do what you want in there, and then you could get around to your objective kind of whenever. So you could kind of look around, or if say you have to run from a horde later, you kind of might know the layout better or something like that.
So as a bit of a kind of like counterpoint, I guess, to that, or not really counterpoint, but just more like an like add-on to that. Not necessarily open world, but like definitely like open level where maybe like like Dead Space 1, they had it where like every chapter you got into, you went back into the little shuttle and it loaded in the next level, and there you go, right? And it was like the same rinse and repeat like level design. Even though the levels might have been longer or expansive, you still went back to that shuttle and then just continued on from there. Dead Space 2 is more like, it was subtle, but it basically would show the next chapter, like the chapter name and stuff, but you kind of just went forward. And I think what would be interesting to do is if they do a setup where you're locked in a ship again, or you're locked in a space station again, and rather than having it be like you're just going from point A to point B, I think it would be kind of cool to see like more of a like traditional survival horror approach, where maybe there is a little bit of backtracking, but this backtracking isn't necessarily like the type of thing of you're just going to get like a puzzle piece to finish a puzzle. It might be more of a, hey, I opened up a shortcut and there's like a new like area to explore because of this like shortcut, and I didn't think about that, and this, that, and the third, or like some of the stuff that like Deadman explained, like where you might have to like run away from a horde, and it might be easier to just kind of yeet that horde by taking paths that you're like aware of and familiar with. So
All right, anybody else?
I'd be interested to see how open world Dead Space would work. I think it could work, but it would. I don't know. It would be interesting. Like, I'm so used to the linear levels from the other three, but like I said, the first one you always have that safe area, kind of with the tram. The second one, kind of like every chapter when it starts, it most of the time you can't then backtrack back to a previous chapter or whatever, or a previous area. It kind of blocks it off in some way in most of the time. It'd be interesting to see if it could do open world, and I think it could work.
All right, I guess we're done with number 10 now, right?
Yep.
All right, Dom, you want to take number 11?
I didn't want to answer this question. I feel like you would be interested in this one, but okay. Number 11, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What, if any, conclusions could be made to bring Dead Space to bring the Dead Space series back for a more survival horror. I'm sorry, this question is a bit confusing. Let me just read it off in my own words, because I didn't write this one. So, if the Dead Space series could come back, would you want it to go for a more survival horror based kind of thing? Like, did you like survival horror focused, or do you want it to go for the more action orientated stuff that we kind of saw with Dead Space 2 and of course Dead Space 3?
Okay, the way that I wrote it was supposed to be more like, what do you think they could improve from taking all three games? What do you think they could do to improve the actual survival horror aspect rather than the action horror? Like, what do you think they could do to make it more survival horror instead of action horror again?
Gotcha.
Like, you can keep the action set pieces and all that, but kind of scale back some of that action.
Weren't you talking earlier about?
I am such a retard. I misread that so bad.
No, you're good.
Okay,
and
there's something I want to piggyback on.
Mine in first.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that real quick. Didn't you say that there was something about universal ammo that you didn't like earlier? It was all fair, but I'm pretty sure you want to mention that.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. That was actually the reason that I wrote that, was specifically that. I like the idea of universal ammo, just not in a survival horror. It works for Mass Effect. It does not work for Dead Space 3. That is one of the few aspects about Dead Space 3 that I don't like, just because, yes, you can have your 2 separate guns with the 4 separate heads and attachments, but I only ever ended up using one gun because it was like, why am I going to switch to another gun when I just have this one gun that I can use all my ammo with? It kind of threw me out of that. That's one of the few things I don't like about Dead Space 3 is the universal ammo.
I'm gonna strongly disagree with that. I'd rather have universal ammo because for starters, so it keeps the inventory clean and you spend less time constantly trying to clean out and get rid of clutter and whatnot, right? Because you're gonna end up picking up ammo for guns that you're not even going to use by accident or on purpose or whatever, right? So I'd rather have universal ammo, so that way, if I don't use a particular gun though, I can at least have all the ammo on me at all times, all available for one fight.
I feel like that's a thing where it's you can make an argument for both. Because I could definitely see that point where Brandon's making, because in Dead Space 1, for example, they would constantly give you ammo for shit that you never used. But then Dead Space 2 also kind of did that, whereas Dead Space 3, well, But alternatively, I could also see that point of if you're trying to make a survival horror game, why is everything shared? And you could just constantly rack up tons and tons of ammo because it's all universal. So I can see that in both ways.
Here's the thing. In the case of Dead Space, in the case of Dead Space though, I could see having more universal ammo be more ideal. Because let's look at Mass Effect, for example. All of them share the same type of energy source, which is thermal energy, right? I'm fine with Dead Space taking that route as well. For these guns are practically identical, and not to mention you customize the gun the way you want to, right? So I think it makes sense to have it share ammo across the board. Now, to give a compromise though, I would actually be in favor of having a secondary type of ammo rather than having 5 different type of ammos. One that's universal, and maybe it's a secondary that is specific for that type of attachment that will give it a bonus of damage or whatever, I'd be more in favor of that though, but not having 6 different type of ammo types, especially since most guns would not be useful, especially in the old system of 1 and 2. Because in 3, you can make any gun useful to your taste. You can't do that with 1 and 2.
Well, I will say for 1, and I think 2 as well, there is kind of one of those hidden, hidden developer tricks where they mostly give you the ammo that you need and some that you don't. Because through my last playthrough, I mostly got plasma cutter and contact beam energy because that's all I use. And it might also just be one of those things where the less guns you use, the less scattered out it'll be. I'm not specifically sure how that works, But I do know they do throw in some useless ammo for you to kind of give you that, hey, we're in a pinch kind of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to jump on that. I am fairly certain it is like the weapons you have, it's more common of a drop for that type of ammo in for the first and second one, but it will also drop ammo every now and then for guns you don't have, which is why a lot of players will just use like two guns, one gun, two guns, and then they never run out of ammo, or they very rarely run out of ammo.
Yeah, I ended up selling most of my ammo.
Yeah,
I mean, I was
yeah.
playing on easy, but still.
I did a hardcore run and had to sell ammo because I ran out of inventory space.
Yeah.
I feel like it's.
Yep.
Oh, go ahead, Dom.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like I said, I definitely like get the appeal for both, so that's why I'm like kind of like indifferent. Like I could definitely see the argument for either side. Like me being somebody who definitely enjoys survival horror games, like I don't particularly mind having various types of ammo for the various guns, because when you do run out of ammo, it's like, oh shit, you'll just take anything.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, I could also understand from the point of like Dead Space going for that more action oriented route, where universal ammo just kind of makes more sense in that regard. So I'm like 50-50 on that particular topic. The way that the question is worded also is kind of more of a broad thing too. I would
it was worded as a broad thing. That was just my specific reasoning for writing the question like that. That was the catalyst for it.
Like for me personally, I would prefer that Dead Space go for a more survival horror like vibe, but I'm not necessarily against it going for the action like aspect either. I think there's room for both. Just I feel like, to kind of avoid the thing that Resident Evil had a problem with, where they just went too far into action at one point. Maybe just have it as like a subset of series of games where, there's Dead Space action-based games that are in a spin-off or sub-series, and then the mainline games where that's more of the like survival horror stuff.
That could work.
I feel like this is one of those things that could be fixed with an option to maybe toggle it on or off if you wanted it. Like, here's the true survival horror experience. Try this mode without the universal ammo, and then there could be another one where it's like, well, if you like Dead Space 3 and you just want to shoot shit up all you want with no problem, then you can toggle on universal ammo and it will fix the problem. So I think maybe making these modes optional and sort of like playing around with them in the future could work, because there have been games where it's like they have certain difficulty parameters and you can go in and wreck shit up, or you could just simply say, I want to limit my resources, no problem.
Right.
Yeah, it could just be fixed by just making it a difficulty.
Yeah.
And yeah, that actually could work too. You just have it tied to the higher difficulties or something. Normal and below, it's like, okay, we'll just give you universal ammo, but on hard and above, it's okay, well, you only have specific types of ammo, and it's not. And it would do the Dead Space thing, where like, yeah, we're gonna give you the ammo for the thing you're using, but we're also gonna give you ammo that you're not using either, just to fuck with.
I'd rather have the toggle option of choosing what I want, honestly. Because honestly, that's just too much of a headache. Because, like, okay, so I play the game normally, like, multiple playthroughs on this, right? And then turn around, I gotta change my adaptivity. Sorry, I can't speak. On another difficulty. Like, I feel like that is a little too much work for my taste, personally.
That's true, but that's also the case with certain survival horror games. Like, you don't just go into another difficulty like RE3 Remake expecting the same strats to work with certain enemies, because when you go into Inferno, they just don't.
Oh, that's like enemy thing though.
Don't
Like
care.
But
RE3's case doesn't necessarily affect the ammo, like sort of. But I'm talking about like let me just choose like you mentioned though, just toggle it between universal or individual. If I'm gonna go on a higher difficulty though, I'd rather deal with different enemy waves or and whatnot, rather than like having to like change up. Like, okay, great, I have universe different type of ammo now, so I gotta do this and this, you know.
It's
Like
the
a
same
little bit
thing.
too much work for my taste.
It's the same thing with the ranged modes as well, where they put all the items in different areas and shit. They just tend to do that like a lot. So I get the point of maybe toggling it on or off would be better, but games have been also doing this since like forever now with differing modes, items, placement, and enemies. But that was an interesting question, interesting responses. So I guess we can move on to the next one.
Real
can
quick
read
though,
off,
does anybody else have any other ideas on what could maybe possibly make it more for survival horror?
I think mostly I just want them to work on the aesthetics. You know, or do things where I never seen them do before, like make an actual co-op game that's super fucking scary with all these implementations and features turned on. Like, I think that has the possibility to be something unique that I rarely see people try these days.
Ren,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just thought of something, and I don't think none of us brought this up at all.
Mhm.
A fucking Dead Space survival horror co-op game that's set up like the Outbreak series.
Oh, so you mean so
Yeah,
four
where
players
like
going
you
around?
play as like 4-player co-op. You can pick like whatever character you want, right? And each character like specializes in like something. You know, like you could have like maybe a like security guard type of character, and then like an engineer, and then like maybe a medic, or like, you know, a hacker or something like that, right? And like
Unitologist gets evac'd immediately. They're out.
yeah, just
Get
like,
them
I'm
out
gonna
of
be
there.
praised while flipping you off.
like I'm
They-
like, think about that, and then like, you know, unlike, you know, because like Resident Evil Outbreak, right? You're limited on resources up until the point where like somebody dies in a room, and then their body basically becomes an 8-slot item box in that room. So like maybe you could obviously change some shit up, right? But like
Brutal way to look at
definitely
it.
like something like that where it's like you're super limited on resources and you have to rely on your team members. Like, I think that would be really fucking cool.
They could. Capcom isn't doing Outbreak right now, so they could get away with it if they wanted to.
So long as the engineer is a stump master, I don't care.
Yes, please. I need
Yeah, he's
stomping.
got to be able to stomp them in the nuts.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. That's
Give him a jetpack, that way he can just jet up and tower stomp everything.
yeah.
But
Trying to think of
Alright.
anything else.
I think we can move on.
Yeah.
Which one is the next one? That's number 12, right?
Think so. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can read that off. So, if Dead Space's series got revived, where would you want the story to go for Isaac and Carver, especially after the cliffhanger from Dead Space 3 Awakened?
For stars, continue what happened afterwards. Like, what happened? Like, are they in a coma? They got captured by the Unitologist, or was there love? Like, did the Necromorphs attack? Are we gonna get Mass Effect 3 type thing here? Like we need answers to what happened to them.
Okay,
Now,
so
or
I mean, yeah, it does kind
or-
of seem like a Mass Effect 3 thing.
mhm.
they could have you after they crash land on Earth though. You take the role of Ellie, right? And then you go out and discover what happened to these two, and then like some point down the line you reconnect with them, and then you have three of them go and figure out or solve the threat at hand. You know, something like that.
Okay, so wasn't the big plot point at the end of that DLC, wasn't it like they discovered that multiple markers were active at the same time?
It was multiple moons, aka like the main sources, the main brains, the hive minds of these markers.
Oh,
basically, right?
the Brethren
Blood
Moons,
Brood
yeah.
Moons? Brethren Moons,
Yeah.
that's it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like no, they were like contacting Isaac, you know, trying to bait him or slow him down, as he put it, from going to Earth. Because they already knew where Earth is at though, but they trying to like make him like tell us where's Earth at, you know, that kind of stuff. Like they were fucking with him practically. But after Isaac defeat like the Unitologist in that world thing, is kind of weird. They know where Earth is at. So like Isaac and Carver is now on like went from 0 to 1,000 quick, trying to get to Earth, and thus now they crash landed.
it ends with them like orbiting Earth, doesn't it? And like shit's going down or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're orbiting Earth, and then the brother moon just pops up, and they just like get knocked unconscious, basically, and that's the end of the series.
Well, and also there was more than one moon, so
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
there was
like,
more than
I
one moon.
said moons. Yeah, there were
Yeah.
more than one moon.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like it if it was to be revived to I mean, I presume it would just mostly, if not all, take place on Earth. But I would like it to focus a bit on Ellie and Isaac and Carver. I don't know if like probably not all three of them survive or something like that. I don't know. It's weird how they ended it because I don't really have an idea of how to go on afterwards.
Actually, I thought of something
kind of-
interesting. What if they develop a reverse marker that actually kills the Necromorphs and kills the mutants? Because
That'd
they,
be pretty
That's
badass, I think.
interesting.
yeah, because they made red markers that can pretty much, they're like mini black markers. They can create Necromorphs at a whim, right? So what if they reverse engineer it to do the exact opposite, kill Necromorphs?
Good point.
I was gonna say I think reversing the necromorph process would be a bit of a cop out, but just stopping it would be nice.
I mean, think about it. No, you have all the moons coming down to Earth, right? So at some point, they gotta like find a way to end the threat, though. So like, why anybody thought about this? Like, no, I see no other fandom so far, like in discussions or whatever, mentioned like, what if they do the exact opposite of these red markers, make a blue marker and kill the those things that way.
Yeah, I just mean like don't make
it.
it to where the markers, make people just magic or make the necromorphs magically turn back to people. That would be a cop out, but
No,
Yeah.
not turning to
You don't
people.
want to.
I mean,
You don't want a Resident Evil vendetta, basically.
That would be
Yeah.
an interesting transformation.
No, I didn't mean like
Straight
that.
into-
I mean just kill them, like just incinerate them. I didn't mean that silly shit.
Imagine
Let 'em go.
turning.
Also,
Imagine turning back to
Brandon, really
human.
quick.
Good.
Just really quick, Ren.
Yeah.
Brandon, there is one thing you were kind of wrong, I feel like you should kind of be corrected on just a little bit. If they
What's
make a reversed engineered marker, it needs to be red, white, and blue. Because it needs
America.
to be American. It needs to be American, okay? It's gotta have like fucking American flags all over that fucking thing, right? It's gotta fire out fireworks when it goes off. It's gotta be like the best fucking thing since sliced bread, okay?
oh, and someone installs speakers on it that blast the fucking Team America anthem. Where it's just constantly going, America! Fuck yeah!
Yes.
Just imagine being reverse engineered from a necromorph, and you're like, I finally got 2 dicks, but I have 2 legs and 2 arms. I don't know what to do with myself now. I guess
2 legs, man. You should have 2 legs. I mean 4.
I guess I can, but yeah, 4 legs, maybe 6 legs, like a spider almost or
I
something. don't
mean,
know.
you could grow a 7th leg if you want, if you get infected with the necromorph shit. So, like,
That's what I noticed. They always have like more than 2 legs, and this is weird to me. Or they have
Yeah,
shit.
there's always like some kind of vestigial one or something.
Yeah, or shit sprouting out of their body, like with the pincer arms, and I'm like, well, can't masturbate no more, so.
So I'm done.
So I'm done.
One touch and it's gone.
I totally forgot the question. I was like, oh
How
man.
would you
we all
want-
did after that.
how would you want the series to continue on after the ending of the DLC for Dead Space 3?
Yeah, after they got knocked out, I just want to know what's next, because that was it was a great ending, but since it's been so long and it kind of sets up for a sequel, we kind of got robbed as fans. So the only thing they should do is, well, of course, it's fucking EA sucks, massive horse penis. They need to definitely get Visceral Games from being liquidated and put them on a staff team, because I still can't believe that they got killed over that Star Wars project that they were working on, and that didn't really go so well. So EA was
That
like,
bit them in the ass really hard.
yeah, EA was like, let's give them the axe, and they got flamed to hell that day.
That would be the day, but then they would have to revive like every studio they've axed over the years, and they're not gonna do that.
Oh, I doubt it.
I think your best hope would be that like any Visceral Games employees that have left EA or that are still working at EA, right? They all leave EA, right? They come together, any of the ones that are already gone from EA, right? Come together and basically form a new thing, and maybe see if they can get the rights back to Dead Space, so that way they could just, self-develop and publish.
They can't get the rights back because it's EA.
Yeah.
Like, they're too greedy.
Yeah, so unless if they somehow did that, like, that would be your best hope. Otherwise, the only other thing you could hope for is, they come together and make a spiritual successor.
Yeah.
Hold on. Wait. Hold that thought, Dom. Aren't they doing isn't a indie developer, they're trying to do a Dead Space like game? I forgot what it's called.
Yes,
Isn't it called Negative Edge? Negative Atmosphere. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm about to say Negative Zone.
I thought it was Negative Edge, but
Negative Atmosphere, which that is a thing, but obviously people aren't gonna want people will want it, right? Because they're gonna want a new Dead Space like game.
Yeah, that's the only reason they're supporting it.
But that there's always gonna be those people out there that'll say, "Well, it's not Dead Space, so I don't want it."
Wow.
And we see this shit a lot with certain communities, Resident Evil, where indies come, they make something, and they really want to make this game, basically the way that pretty much all of us would want to see it get made, but they don't support this shit. So there is that risk of hey, this indie game comes out, right, and it might not get the traction or the support that it really deserves or needs,
Yeah, that's a whole another topic entirely, but I'm look, I get so tired of that mindset where it's it has to be this distinct IP. I know we want it back, but it has to be this one that gets this treatment. It's maybe we need to support something else to show that it deserves that treatment. And these devs, they will buckle at money. So it's if you want fixed camera and if you want fucking Dead Space to come back, and they're doing this indie game just like Dead Space, then try to give the developers some money and put your money where your mouth is. It's that simple.
Yeah, or it's kind of the same thing with supporting re-releases of certain games. I know this is a bit off topic, but there's that rumor of Ninja Gaiden coming back with a remastered trilogy, but it's gonna include the Sigma games for 1 and 2. And I know a lot of people don't really care for the Sigma games, but it's well, hey, if you want Ninja Gaiden back, you're gonna have to support this. It's kind of the same type of situation. I know it's unrelated.
Plus, if you think about that for remasters and stuff, not everybody got the chance to play everything. So I know someone like me who got to miss out on, or who had to miss out on some of that kind of stuff because I didn't have all those games growing up. It's nice to be able to go back and play some of the, like Resident Evil 1 remake. It's nice to go back and play that because I never got the chance to do it. And then, you've got the PlayStation Store. You can buy digital versions of them. Or even things like Bulletstorm that didn't even get that much attention. Well, maybe now that it's on a new generation, it can get some more attention and get the sequel that it deserves. Because Bulletstorm was fun as shit.
Yeah, it was. They were holy shit. The story was garbage, but man, the gameplay was on point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's kind of the same deal. It's if people want something Dead Space go support Negative Atmosphere.
Yeah. I actually didn't even know about that. I'm gonna put that on my list of shit I need to get.
Right. Otherwise, you're basically for anybody else that's thinking that Dead Space will one day come back, you're either gonna wait for EA to somehow lose the fucking rights, whether it be they just forget to renew the trademark like Activision did with what was it, Tenchu, or
they let it go, I think.
Yeah, or you basically gotta hope that some kind of shit happens where EA just forgets to renew the trademark, or they just don't care to renew it, right? And somebody else gets a hold of it, or where the Dead Space devs themselves, just up and leave, form a new company, and make something in the vein of Dead Space, but again, not really Dead Space per se, that's really your best bet there. But
You know what?
chances of that happening is very slim.
I'm gonna do something have these mofos don't do. I'm gonna put the damn Patreon in the description for Negative Atmosphere, and if people who are interested in this podcast, they want to play a Dead Space like game from indie developers, you can do that, because like I said, most people only, for Resident Evil's case, and I know it's diverging, they only want to fix camera back for Resident Evil. They don't give a flying fuck about any other indie developer doing fixed camera as much as they want it back. It has to be either Resident Evil's way or the highway, and that's not happening considering that Capcom knows they sold like 7 million with RE2 Remake. So once again, supporting these people shows that it has enough money there. They could possibly go back to it one day. They did try it with RE2 Remake, but they chose their person. Supporting these developers will show that there's still money there, and they could go back to that style if they find the incentive to do so.
Yep.
That's all we're saying. Like, just support it, and you never know what will happen. But we're gonna move on to the last question, which is number 13.
I can read that one off.
Good.
So to end off this podcast, what do you think of the pre-established concept for Dead Space 4? It was a plot that was involving the marker finally infecting the universe, and you were able to visit planets that dealt with the marker prior to Earth, including Earth, which was actually never seen before in the Dead Space series outside of just hovering above the planet.
Yeah.
So I think with the concept too, they'd mentioned that Ellie was going to be a playable character. You were not going to be playing as Isaac per se. And I think there was also going to be a thing of like I think Earth was going to just fuck off like completely. It was just gonna get yeeted, and you were gonna be looking for like survivors like deep in space, and also searching through different like space vessels that have been impacted by the Necromorph infection, which honestly I think would have been cool because well, for one, we would have been able to see another character's perspective in this universe. Like, obviously, for mainline, we'd been following Isaac for a long time, and he is a cool character, and I would like to continue exploring his story. But I'm also open to seeing other characters and seeing how they deal with this experience.
Honestly, 4 sounds like the coup de grace, the grand finale of the series. I think it would have been more ideal to have all three, like Carver, Ellie, and Isaac, as playable characters, have their different objectives as playable characters, you know?
Somehow, with the way that sounds, it sounds like that could have been a plot twist. Like, she just finds him, and then later on in the game, you take control of Isaac. I feel like that was probably going to be set up to be the big finale, and then fighting all these aliens together to kill all the markers.
Now, the ultimate question would be is that how Isaac's fate is going to turn out. Because I have a feeling that him and Carver would actually legit die, considering they're in the forefront of all this shit, like, after 3. So, like, how will their fate, in your opinion, though, how will their fate turn out? Mostly Isaac, if, you just want to answer for him, though, but...
Isaac's weird, so was Ellie's, but I think Carver would have eventually went crazy because they were kind of setting up for that in Dead Space 3 with the marker affecting his mind the most.
Oh, yeah, both... yes. Both of them do get affected with the marker, though, but it's actually mostly Isaac that experiences it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But
Now, granted, though, that could potentially change in the co-op sections, though, but Isaac's the one that actually goes more nuts than Carver. In fact, he's more like the straightforward, calm one. As weird as that sound.
I guess a better word would be him experiencing it for the first time.
I think they need to explain how Ellie has never been shown to be affected by the marker.
I don't think she's...
They kind of just delve over that and be like, oh, well, she's kind of here, but she's not, like, going crazy or anything. And
I don't think she's very near one to go crazy.
Yeah, so I would like to see how she would deal with that, actually.
Plot twist for the 4th when Ellie kills Isaac and the invasion and the Necromorph invasion ends.
Yeah, that would be funny and sad if Isaac actually causes the invasion because they're connected to him. He's the one that is the catalyst to all this for the most part.
They do
No.
say that the gold marker is actually Isaac's creation in the second game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made it.
Yep.
Because he had the blueprints imprinted in his head.
So that could actually happen. That'd be fucked
That's
up,
my
but
theory.
yeah, that'd be fucked up that you kill him, but that could actually happen because people have created markers from their mind before to make constructs.
Yeah, I think all the miniature markers that were being made too were also of his doing, right? Because they took the blueprints out of his mind.
I don't remember about the red marker. I think they were based on the original, and they sort of.
No, I'm talking about in Dead Space 2. You remember? Because like you go through like the labs in 2, and they have like a
Labs.
bunch of markers that are like being like started, but they're not like fully like developed, and they're like miniature markers.
Yeah.
Maybe, but I know that the man-made ones, in particular, all of them are based on the original one they found. So everything else is just a copy after that, or they were constructed from people's minds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how the original outbreak started. It was Isaac's marker that went apeshit.
Yep. The red one is just people saying, you know what, we got our own copy, so we're gonna use it. But
I
yeah,
think they actually. But
oh, you
I
go.
was saying, I think they're able to reverse engineer a marker and create their own source. And like, wow. And yet, the people still stupid enough to actually continue to make them because you see what they can do.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say that all those guys are stupid.
Basically, Dead Space is the story of why religion in space is fucking wild and they
Yeah,
be
like-
wild and man.
Yeah, like they see what happens to the Ishimura, and then they make it all on the sprawl, and then they see what happens to the sprawl,
It happens
and
on
then it
Tour
fucking,
Volantis.
yeah, and then it just happens everywhere.
So, I mean, Jesus died on the third, rose on the third day. Well, you rise in the third minute when you become a necromorph. Religion.
Actually, I never. This is a small side question before we end off, but what do you guys think of the unitologists?
I want them to be like it's kind of like the cult in Silent Hill, where we only kind of know so much about them, and
Yeah.
I feel like unlike Silent Hill, where I feel like that's okay, where we don't really know a whole lot about them. I feel like in Dead Space, like the unitologists are basically like Umbrella, so like we want to know as much as possible. You know, we want to like put that shit out on the forefront and like expose them. So I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like we should definitely get more information on them, like where they started from the day, like, you know, I want to see the perspective of the guy that actually started the unitologist, like, you know, why, where was he, that stuff, because they explored it in like I think two, where it showed the people, the first guy that started this religion, but I want to see it from the start, like either the cutscenes or whatever. Like I would love to see it.
Yeah,
From the start.
because I think the guy who started it was Michael Altman, and he's dead by the time Dead Space happens. So, or they do kill him somewhere down the timeline, so you don't really see him in action.
He gets killed by the I think it was like the U.S. government in his time,
Mm.
And that's why a religion starts, because like they feel as though it was like some kind of conspiracy cover up.
Yep.
They just need Isaac's mind to make the markers.
They also believe that all the stuff with the Necromorphs happening or whatever, it really should happen, and anyone who doesn't hit convergence is a sinner, and that's why they, try to kill people sometimes when they go crazy.
Oh, you know
Yeah.
what? There was one thing we kind of glossed over too, in
What's
particular
up?
with Dead Space 3.
Mm.
I know that the concept for Dead Space 3 was originally going to be where it was not going to be Carver, but a Shadow Isaac of sorts.
Yes.
And he was going to be seeing like basically like I don't necessarily know if it was supposed to be like an evil version of him, but it was another version of him that technically was not there. And
Yeah.
that version, like some of the stuff they kept, I think, whereas like your whoever is playing as Carver in like the full game will see some shit that Isaac won't see, and vice versa.
Yeah, because Shadow Isaac, I believe, was actually the co-op partner,
Yeah.
and that happened all because his connection with the marker, I believe.
Mm. I think that would be something that would work very well for Dead Space 4 to, you know, if they wanted to keep the co-op aspect for people that did like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I know with like Dead Space 3, like some of the cutscenes, at least from what I've seen, you know, they kind of would not make sense without the co-op character at all.
All right, so I think we
Alright,
can do outros.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Start from the top. BioDevil Dom. Outro yourself.
Yeah, you can find me as BioDevil_Dom. On the rare occasion, YouTube, Twitch. Usually I'm on Twitter, mostly because I'm just lazy. I don't know when I'll get back to consistently making videos, if ever. I'm trying. Just don't judge me, please. But yeah, BioDevil_Dom, that's where you can find me. I'm usually here on this podcast. So, yeah.
Alright. Yeah. Undead Man Gaming.
Dead man.
Yep.
Nope.
There.
I guess
Is it?
I guess he's dead. All right. So
He's lost.
He became
What?
a necromorph, so to speak.
Alright. Well, Ginger. You give me outro
Okay.
until he gets back.
I'm Blitz_Ginge on Twitter, and Ginger Ninja on YouTube. I'm currently doing a hardcore Dead Space 2 playthrough. If you ever want to check that out and see any Dead Space 2 gameplay.
Alright. Dead Man, can you speak to us?
I don't know. Can y'all hear me now?
Yay!
Okay. Good lord, if it's not one thing, it's another. Alright, so I'm Deadman Gaming. I run a small YouTube channel. Hopefully it'll grow larger soon, but I do everything great about games. I think there's too much negative stuff on games going around, so I like to pick out the positive stuff. And you can pretty much just find me on YouTube and Twitter.
Alright. Renegade.
all right, so you can find me on Twitter at RentOperative_. You can find me on YouTube at Renegade Operative. I probably will be working on some Evil Within lore stuff soon. So that might be out next week, as well as continuing maybe some Resident Evil or Silent Hill for streams, because it is Spooktober, so I will be continuing that pretty much.
Yeah,
Alright.
I want to see you fuck up in Silent Hill.
Probably not as much because I actually played those games, but Resident Evil is just a whole different ballpark to me on 7. So maybe I'll do more blind stuff in the future, like Alien Isolation as well, because I have no idea where to go in that game.
Okay? If you're gonna play Alien Isolation on stream, you have to do it on the hardest difficulty.
No,
I
don't listen to
fucking
this
did.
man.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
don't
don't listen to this
Hardest
man.
difficulty.
Do it on the hardest difficulty. I did it on the hardest difficulty. It is fun.
No, don't torture yourself. Don't do it, my chat.
I assume the
When you're
alien.
streaming it, and I'll watch.
I assume the alien is super aware. I'll just wait until I see that.
The alien is super aware, is more active. Your radar is actually kind of fucked up, and also less ammo.
Wow, that's gonna be a good time.
Learns way
I
quicker as
want to
well.
see you do this because this difficulty, as far as I'm aware, was not in the original release. It was patched in later on. So
Interesting.
Alright. Well, you can find me on Twitter at Mortal Brando. Twitter is none of your business. I have to get it. I just said it. Twitch is none of your business. But yeah, that's it. Nothing special. I'm nobody. I'm just here now. But anyway, thank you all you people for watching or listening, however you prefer to do it. Ren will upload this shortly, hopefully. Stop being lazy, Ren.
I think it's
I do.
live streamed, right?
It's live stream, but I want to put in gameplay, so I'll probably put in gameplay.
Yeah. So yeah. Thank you for watching, and if you see a Necromorph, just stomp him in the nuts, alright? With your giant boot. Have a good day, have a good night, whatever.
Stomp them balls.
See ya.
See ya.